Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard of. And by the way, Karen assured me that if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to speak to anyone's manager for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. r/Entitled Parents. Karen demands commission work for free. I want to say at first that I am on hiatus for commissions and do not make models for just anyone online anymore. And I make 3D models for 3D printers and rarely send them out. Depending on what it is a customer wants me to make, it can cost anywhere from $5 to $45, but I prefer to keep it cheap, as these things cost nothing but time to create. I enjoy doing it, and I've been in the same chair with having financial issues. But why would someone with financial issues have a 3D printer in operational condition? So I mostly keep the $45 price for if they want multiple things, have me print them, difficult things to make, and shipping. I mostly just do commissions for people who I work with for things like their little sibling's birthday present or a model for a project, but I used to advertise this weird commission thing openly. I had a small website that I made with my friend who I will call Anthony. Anthony helped keep everything under control and filter through which commissions I can and can't do, queue them, etc., so I could get the ones I was working on done quicker. There's a kid who is also in my workplace and in a couple of my classes who is an absolute jerk, who I'll call Kyle, because that's really just what he is. I was finishing up a PowerPoint in my biology class with Anthony, and Kyle walks up to me and starts asking about commissions.
Hey, if I draw a picture of
Insert anime character here.
Can you make a 3D model for free since you know me?
I was a little confused, since I had stated on my site and almost everywhere that I had to go on hiatus due to the laptop I use for this task being broken. I beg your pardon, I replied.
Can you make me an anime model?
Anthony already looked a little irritated and decided to respond for me. No, he can't right now. He typically doesn't do humans anyways. Kyle was already mad.
Well, why not? You know me, and I refuse to pay for something that takes, 5 minutes to create? I was dumbfounded by the idea that he thought it would take 5 minutes to make an anime model from scratch. I don't know you well. We are acquainted, but even that, just barely. If you want a name tag, I can write you down, as those typically take seconds to make, and only take 20 minutes at most, but only if you want a lot of details. That is the only thing I will do for free. Sorry, I replied, trying to get back to finishing the PowerPoint. What is so exciting about a name tag? These dumb models don't take much effort. Why can't you make me one?
Kyle's voice was doing that stupid shaky thing where it is whispering but yelling, like a lot of Karens and Kyles do. Anthony decided to respond again. This time, these models can take upwards of 10 hours to create at times. Now, can you do both me and Eredias a favor and buzz off?
Not until you tell me why you can't make me a cheap model,
Kyle snapped. Look, Kyle, it's rare for me to even make my closest friends' models for free. I mostly just discount it. Plus, my home laptop broke yesterday. That is the one I make commissions on. I've posted it everywhere that the commissions are closed for a while. I also explicitly stated on every piece of media I'm on that I do not do humans. And like stated, I barely know you. Kyle stormed off, and both me and Anthony thought that would be the end of it. Big surprise, it wasn't. On my website, I posted an alternate phone number and forgot to take it down when I went on hiatus. I was at my job at Taco Bell. I'm a cashier, and when I go on break, I check my phone and had 94 missed calls. 94. And whoever the heck it was still trying to contact me. So I head outside and text that person. Hey, who is this? And why did you call me 94 times in a 3-hour period? I texted. A minute or so later, my phone buzzed. Call. Can't text well. So, in a second of sheer stupidity, I answered their next call. Hi, is this Aridias or Anthony from the 3D modeling commissions? A voice that screamed Karen went on. Yes, this is Aridias. Ma'am, I am on hiatus, so I won't be done with it for quite a while, whatever it is you are commissioning, but I can put you in the queue. I was cut off. Did you tell Kyle you won't accept his money simply for asking for a model? He came home upset and told me you said that. Ma'am, he tried to get me to do a commission for free of something I explicitly stated I will not do while I'm on hiatus. If he really wanted that model, he's going to have to find another way to do so. I sighed. Well, he said you denied him service, which you have no right to do. Karen's whiny voice was practically stabbing my eardrums by now. It's mine and Anthony's business. If we want to refuse service, let alone do something we said we won't do for free, with no way to do so, we can. And quite frankly, the display you are putting on right now, I will do just that. You stole my son's money. I will report you, Karen snapped. Oh my God. Lady, I am not doing commissions for anyone. I did not take any money. He tried to get something that I can't do from me for free. I can't do commissions until my laptop is repaired anyways. I had enough of this BS. Well, he wants that model that he paid for, so make him one. Now! It's not like they take long. He said they take 5 minutes at most. They aren't that hard. Just suck it up and spend 5 minutes. He more than deserves that from you. Who he says bullied him? I dropped my head on the ground after deciding that I probably wouldn't give up without a fight, as I am not really good at walking away from conflicts. I did not bully him. Models take hours. Well, he said he can make one in 5 minutes. Then tell him to do it, I snapped back, now attracting attention from the people in the fast food line. So I decided to start walking down the stores behind the shop. He can't make humans, she said back. Neither can I. I'm pretty sure she heard the cars that were passing by and exploded. I hope one of them hits you. Now make my son's model before I do it myself. I gasped and looked out into the passing traffic, then at my phone. It was a $15 flip phone that I bought specifically for my business. It wouldn't cost much, and it'd be funny. I threw the phone into the traffic, where it got crushed. I continued to my house. The next day at school, I explained to Anthony what happened and why the business phone number needs to be removed, and why it will be changed, and why I needed a new business phone. Kyle walked into the class and looks throughout and is infuriated when he sees me. As in temper tantrum breaking stuff infuriated. He started throwing things at me and yells, "You're supposed to be dead!" Thankfully, a teacher overheard the commotion and escorted him to the office. I never heard from him or his mom again. Next we've got Entitled Aunt and Entitled Sister Ruin My Life. So, I have an entitled sister and an entitled aunt who ruin my life completely. They give me no rights to speak. They choose what they want me to wear, have, and choose who I should be friends with. Some context to this situation. This started yesterday. My aunt came from London to visit and stay for a week. My sister loves my aunt. I despise her. My aunt and my sister go along really well with each other, not only for games, but to also ruin my life. They said it themselves that they love seeing me cry. They know about my depression and anxiety. They know everything, but they don't give a crap. Yesterday, they tried embarrassing me in front of one of my friends, now boyfriend, and in front of the whole dang school. Cast. We've got entitled sister, entitled aunt, we've got me, we've got boyfriend, we've got friends 1 and friends 2. Let's get started. So I woke up at 6 a.m. Way too early for a normal school day here, because my aunt forced me to. As I came downstairs, I found out the hard way that dog poop was on the steps and my aunt didn't bother cleaning it, so I stepped on it. In embarrassment, I quickly ran to the bathroom to wash really quickly to get ready for school. As I was washing, Either my aunt or my sister, or the dog, took my homework out of my bag and ripped it. When I came back from the bathroom in shock, I found what's remaining of my homework. In stress, I tried my best to find glue or tape or anything to get the math homework back together. This was followed by a conversation. Entitled Aunt. Wow, Leaf, would you look at that? You're so irresponsible. Sister. When will you learn to take care of your stuff? Me, panicking. Who did this? The dog? I started to tear up. Entitled Aunt. Probably. Anyways, you are very stupid. Probably everything on that one piece of paper was wrong. The dog made a good choice. Sister. Ha ha ha, idiot. Both turn away into my mom's room. Keep in mind, my mom wasn't home at this time. Crying, I ran into my room to change into my clothes. Black hoodie, gray leggings, and black shoes. By the time I came down, my sister screamed, What are you wearing? This stuff isn't for girls. Ew, you boy. Me. But, entitled sister. Shut up. You're wearing what I give you. My sister dragged me upstairs and forced me to wear a pink hoodie and white leggings with white shoes. After that, when I was about to go downstairs, my sister pushed me on accident, and I fell and hit my head. I had enough. I was already crying so much. I was so stressed. When it was 7, I went to school, backpack on, still crying, and with an empty stomach. I arrived to school at 8 because I wasted time venting to the trees nearby me. When I was at school, my aunt and sister kept calling me. I'm guessing to get me in trouble for having my phone on. Joke's on them. My ringer is off 24/7 during school. After 5 periods, lunchtime comes. I have more male friends than female friends, so usually you'd see me hanging out with a guy most of the time. I was hanging out with boyfriend before he even became my boyfriend. Boyfriend. Wow, you're wearing pink? That's rare. Me. Shut up. I told him about everything that happened at my home before I even came to school. Boyfriend. That's horrible. Who'd do such a thing to you? Me. Those two. Boyfriend. Yeah. Me. I wish my aunt would move out. I wish my sister would move out. My mom is the only one who understands me in this household. Boyfriend. Where's your mom? Me. At her job. I get a call. Me. Oh, I'm getting a call right now. One sec. The call was from my aunt. She checked my grades online. She was screaming at me, saying, How dare you get an A in math? Only get an A+. When you come home, you're getting punishment. Oh, crap. Boyfriend saw me crying, and he took my phone from my hands and continued the call. Boyfriend. Who is this? Ew, a boy? Is Leaf friends with you? Yeah. Got a problem with me being a guy? Boys are disgusting. She's a girl, and she should be with girls. Boyfriend is fully offended. Hey! Me. I snatched the phone away. We'll talk later. I end the call in distress. Boyfriend asked if he could help me out, if he could be the guy I needed to talk to in stressful times. I gladly accepted. We exchanged numbers. By the time school ended, I was about to walk home until... Entitled sister. Leave! She screamed so loud, all the kids outside stared at me. Some laughed. Sister. You're in big trouble. I heard what happened over the phone. The kids started to gasp. I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to do. I just didn't. Then comes boyfriend. He had just left the school and he sees what is happening. Boyfriend runs towards sister. Hey, buzz off. Sister. Excuse me, boy? You heard me. Leave Leaf alone. They have done nothing to you. She was born. That's what she did to me, you disgusting guy. Why are you even on this? Me, having an anxiety attack. Guys, not here. The whole school is what? Boyfriend, still arguing with sister. Listen here, you little piece of crap. The mistake here is you. I don't want to see you near Leaf. Leaf has their life ruined because of you. Entitled Aunt. Stay away from my angel, boy. Boyfriend. I've had enough. Boyfriend was about to throw a punch when friend 1 and friend 2 came and stopped him. Friend 1. What the heck is happening? Boyfriend explains everything. Friend 2. Holy, this lady needs to take a chill pill. Stay out of this, you disgusting boys. Excuse me? We're Leaf's friends. When they need help, we come and help. Friend 2. You need to stay off leaf. I don't want to make this post so long, so I'm just gonna say here a full argument took place. In front of my school, everyone watching, an entitled aunt tried to slap me but failed miserably. By the time I got home, I told my mom about this, and she knocked the heck out of my aunt and sister. I admit, I laughed so hard at that time. Both my aunt and sister are leaving tomorrow. Next we've got, give me the expensive item for the same price as the cheaper one. Quick backstory. I'd worked at a popular video game store for roughly 12 years. It got stressful at times, and I developed anxiety about 5 or 6 years ago. I left recently, and my mental health has been improving greatly. A couple of years ago, I started documenting the more stressful events as motivation to find a way out and stay out, which I tried and failed a couple of times. Left but had to go back because I wasn't able to find another job that I could do well. Now that I'm finally out, I'm hoping these stories can give a little entertainment to you fine folks. Some are long, some are short, but they're all events that show that people don't really need to act like this. Not quite sure how many I have, but we'll see. On with the story. A few days prior, a customer had bought a 120GB PlayStation 3 system. Can't remember the exact price. Let's say 120. He comes in today saying that it doesn't work and wants to get it replaced. I quickly hook it up and try to turn it on, and it does not turn on. I determine that it is defective and go to replace it. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's not working. Sorry about that. You said you just wanted to get another one? I ask. He says, yeah, and do you think you could test it before I leave? I don't want to have to come back again. Sure thing, I reply. We don't normally test systems just before the sale. Rather, we test them first when they come in. Naturally, we're only human, so sometimes a bad one will slip past us. But I decided I should in this case. I went to the back to get a replacement, only to find that there were no other 120GB models, only 160GB, which cost $150. I brought it out and said, looks like we're actually out of the 120GB, but we have the 160. It's a difference of like $30. Do you want this one? Yeah, that'll be fine, he said. So I go ahead and hook it up. Turn it on. Check the hard drive size. I was already there, so I may as well check. Had a couple of incidents where they were labeled as the wrong size. He seemed satisfied, so I box it up and start processing the return of the 120 and the sale of the 160. Alrighty, anything else for you today? I ask. Nah, that'll be it. Okay, so the difference is going to be $31.79, I say. He looks puzzled. What? I have to pay? Yes. Remember, we didn't have any other 120 gigs, so you said you were okay with the 160 gig. Yeah, but I didn't think I'd have to pay for it. You guys sold me a bad system, so you should honor the return. I hate it when people use honor with backwards logic like this. We can definitely process the return, sir, but this is technically a different item, so the price is different, I say. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I didn't make a mistake, so I shouldn't have to pay anything. I realized we were getting nowhere, and instead of trying to explain it to him further, I just wanted him to leave. I'm sorry, I'll go ahead and process the refund and give you your money back. Wait, what? Don't you want the refund? I ask. What I want is a working system. Well, this 160 gig here works, but I'm afraid I can't change the price to 120. I can see if a nearby store may have a 120 gig for you. Just forget it, dude. Give me my money back. Sure thing, I say, and process the return without another word. I hand him the money and receipts together, which he snatches from my hand, pockets the money, and crumples up the receipts and leaves them on the counter, and then he saunters off. Next we've got just trying to help. It was about 5:03 p.m. when I arrived, in civilian clothing as I was not currently on duty, and was just popping in to get some groceries for myself and my roommate, since I don't live on base, on my way back. It was late July at the time, and supermarket has pretty much everything. Electronics, outdoor/gardening, sports supplies, groceries, the works. I'm out of uniform, as I mentioned, and was wearing just a white button-down shirt and a pair of black pants, which was my first mistake, because at supermarket, unless you're working behind a food counter or in the truck bay, that's the basics of their uniform. I know this because I worked for them from the time I was 19 to 21. Oops. Now, as I'm walking into the parking lot from the bus stop, I notice two things. The first is a woman with two kids trying to load a few bags of fertilizer and gardener rocks into her minivan. And the second is the woman who would become a pain in my butt for the next 40 minutes or so, though I don't know it at the time. Now, of course, I stopped to help the woman load gardening stuff into her minivan, and even offer to take the cart back to the bay for her, which she politely thanks me and declines, sending her son to take it back instead. I say, no problem, tell her to have a good evening, and continue on my way. I pick up a basket once I get inside and start to go about my shopping. Now, I've worked at supermarkets in the past, but not in this location, so while I kind of have an idea of where everything is, I don't know the specifics or the exact layout. I'm getting some groceries and tossing them into my basket and make my second mistake. That is, not correcting another woman I stopped to help. She's trying to reach a box of some store-brand cookies, but she's about 5'0" and is practically trying to climb to shelf to reach them. I'm around 6'2", and so I just reach up and grab it and hand it to her. She thanks me, sees what I'm wearing, and asks where she can find the pool toys. I tell her I don't know the exact aisle, but that they would be in the seasonal shelves, over in or near the outdoor section, over by gardening at the other end. She thanks me again and goes on her way. What I should have done is tell her at the same time that I don't work for the supermarket, but I didn't. Oops times 2. You can all guess what happens next, but I'll keep telling the story anyway. Now, I mentioned I worked retail for a number of years, so the moment I heard that from behind me, I knew exactly what to expect when I turned around and the second woman from the parking lot is standing behind her cart, staring up at me expectantly. She was also like 5'0", maybe 5'3" or 5'4", not very tall. Karen: now that you're done with her, where can I find watermelons? Me: I would guess in produce at the front. It's summer, so they're in season. Should be a giant cardboard box on a pallet. Should be? You don't know? That's a bit lazy of you, don't you think? Now, at this point, I haven't clued into my mistakes yet. And to be fair, the Karen, she's totally justified in thinking that I work there based on what she's seen so far. So her Karen-ness hasn't quite surfaced yet. Me: oh, well, I mean, I don't know the exact layout, but that's usually where they are. Not knowing the layout isn't an excuse. You should take more pride than that. Me: I suppose so. Sorry. At this point, I start to walk away to return to my shopping. I'm in the military. I'm used to being talked down to, so this didn't really bother me. But that's when things started their downward spiral. Karen: excuse me? Don't you walk away from me. I'm not done yet. Pardon? I said I'm not done yet. You still need to help me. Come with me. I decide to follow her because I do like to help people. And even if she's being a bit rude, I figure, whatever, maybe she's had a rough day. We walk back towards the front of produce, and she starts looking around. Well, I don't see the watermelons. Do you? Me: after a moment of looking, I see them tucked a bit off to the side, a bit behind a pallet of berries that I guess someone was stocking. Yeah, they're just over here. How many did you need? I start to pick up a couple of good-sized ones without too much damage to the husks. I need 2, and they better be in good shape. I proceed to show them to her, and after she says they're good enough, I load them into her cart and then turn to leave. Karen: good. Now, where is the bread? At this point, I'm getting a little frustrated with her, but I'm trying to still be nice. But I mean, really? Where's the bread? Where do you think it is, lady? The bread would be over in the bakery. It's usually over in the back corner, between the deli and the meat counters. Would be? Usually? Don't you know where anything is? This is totally unacceptable. Stop being so stupid and come with me. I sigh to myself. But heck, I need bread too, so why not? I follow her over to the bakery, which, just like my old store, was spaced out between the deli and the meat counters, with generous room between each section. I grab a couple loaves, load them into my basket, and turn to head toward meat. Karen: where do you think you're going? Come get this bread for me. It's too high up. Why do you people insist on putting everything so high up anyway? It's not like all of us can reach it. It's so stupid. Fair enough. She's short, I'm tall, whatever. I turn around, walk the 10 feet back to her, reach up and give her the bread. Then turn around again to leave. I still have things to pick up, and at this point, this woman has been bossing me around for close to 10 minutes, so I'm starting to feel just a bit taken advantage of. Where do you keep the tomato sauce? At this point, I let out an audible sigh and didn't notice when she said, Where do you keep? And failed to correct her that I don't keep anything in the store, because I don't work there. Oops times 3. Me. I don't know, ma'am. It's different for every store what their actual aisle layout is. I guess it would be with the other sauces and stuff though. If you read the signs hanging from the ceiling, you should be able to find it pretty easily. No, that is totally unacceptable. You don't know where anything is, you stupid lazy kid. I can't believe they even hired you. This is so ridiculous. You're going to find it and take me there right now. Oh, light bulb. I get it now. It all finally makes sense. I look down, see what I'm wearing, and all the pieces fall into place, and I have myself a little laugh. Oh, I get it. I'm so sorry, ma'am. There seems to be a mistake here. See, I don't actually work here. Yes, you do. Don't lie to me, you lazy little jerk. You're in uniform, and you've been helping people since you got here. How stupid do you think I am? Now go. Get me my tomato sauce. Me. No, really, ma'am. I don't work here, and I'm really sorry, but I've still got things to do tonight. I don't know where the sauce is, but if I see it anywhere and run into you again, I'll be sure to let you know, in case you haven't found it yet. I don't wait for her to reply. I turn around and walk away like I'm marching off on a parade square, quickly and effectively. I can hear her following behind me and complaining about lazy and stupid kids and not working and blah blah blah, and I don't even care anymore. I'm browsing through the meat, trying to find something decently priced and whatever, when I hear a louder male voice from behind me. Male. What's your name? I tell him my name. Come with me. I follow him to the back, and he starts to berate me about not helping customers and not working, and about complaints, and how I'm shopping during my shift. I politely interject. I pull my dog tag out from under my collar and show it to him and calmly inform him, I don't work here, sir. I didn't see the Karen again, but the manager apologized for the confusion and told me he would take care of it, and was even nice enough to give me the employee discount for the inconvenience. On my way out, I noticed Karen in the parking lot trying to load her cart load of groceries into her car, so I offered to help her. Well, it's about time. Yes, load these into my car. Me. I should tell you, this isn't a service supermarket's offer, and also, I don't work here. But you're welcome, and have a good night. That was the last I saw of her as I walked off with my groceries to wait for the bus. The manager still, every now and then, jokes with me about being his best, worst employee. How my entitled aunt and cousin ruined my 10th birthday. My aunt, Dad's sister, has always been the textbook entitled jerk. When I was a kid, she never missed an opportunity to make me feel like garbage. She threw what she could at me in an attempt to break me. Of course, the disgust she felt for me and the faults she found in my dad's parenting never stopped her from mooching stuff off of him or asking him for favors without ever giving anything in return. She and her husband considered their son to be a gift from the heavens, and he too grew up to be a narcissistic bully who loved to torment me, even though I was 7 years younger than him. This is about the time she, along with her son, ruined my 10th birthday. The incident resulted in me being put off of birthdays and deciding to never celebrate them again. I just couldn't see them as a cause for celebration. My entire extended family, which included the said aunt, uncle, and cousin, along with some other relatives, were at our home, and my dad and stepmom had gone out to run some errands. My cousin had invited some of his friends over, even though my dad and stepmom didn't know them. My dad allowed them to come after my aunt whined incessantly about how her son would be bored if his friends were not there. I remember sitting in my room and playing with my dog. I knew my cousin would be down there, and I usually did what I could to avoid him. At that time, I suffered from a pretty bad stutter, and when I was upset or angry, it only got worse. This is something my cousin loved to make fun of, and of course, my birthday would be no different. He demanded that I come downstairs to talk to his friends. When I refused, his mother told me to stop being rude and do as I was told. I was a powerless kid, so I really had no other choice. I went down to the living room, and my cousin introduced me to his buddies in his usual condescending way as the birthday girl. He handed me a novel and told me to read out loud. I tried to read properly, but failed. I was surrounded with judgmental stares, and it made me nervous. I stuttered, which is exactly what my cousin was hoping for. He and his friends began to snicker. I got angry and stopped reading. Cousin called me a freak. His friends looked at me as though I was on display at a zoo exhibit. I wanted to prove them wrong, that I wasn't a freak, that I could read. I tried reading again. This time, on account of me being angry, the stutter was much worse. My cousin decided to mock my stutter, and all but one of his friends roared with laughter. The one that didn't actually noticed my tears and told the others to knock it off. He asked if I was okay. My cousin told him not to bother. It's just a joke, and that I was just an oversensitive baby. My rage was boiling over, and I threw the book at my cousin's face and stomped out. My aunt had seen what had happened and decided to pull me by my hair and drag me back to the living room. She told me to apologize to my cousin. I refused. She told me I needed to be taught a lesson for being a brat. I tried to tell her what had happened. She chuckled and said, "So what? He's your cousin, and he's older than you. You need to respect him. Now, apologize." I refused again, this time with a, "No, I hate all of you," all the while crying and shaking with anger. This didn't sit well with Aunt. She told me I was a troublemaker, just like my mother had been, that she knew the day I was born that there was something wrong with me, that an evil jerk like my mother couldn't possibly produce a normal kid. This was it. I balled up my fist and connected it to my aunt's face. By now, all the other relatives had heard the commotion and had gathered in the living room. My dad and stepmom walked in through the front door. The aunt started fake crying. She berated my father for not raising me right and went on and on about how I was a violent, ill-mannered brat, etc., etc. The other relatives, too, expressed their disappointment in me. My dad asked me what the heck I thought I was doing. I tried to tell him what my cousin had done and what my aunt had said about my mother. Unfortunately, my stutter reared its ugly head again, and all that came out of my mouth was gibberish. My tears were flowing again. In the meantime, my cousin had decided to take all his friends and bail. I was punished for my beastly conduct. My birthday celebration was canceled. My dad called my friends and asked them not to come over. I didn't cut any cake. The presents I was to receive from my parents were stocked away. I was banished to my room and stayed there for the rest of the day. I ate lunch and dinner alone. The next morning, no one spoke to me. I was given my breakfast platter, which I ate in my room. That afternoon, my cousin's friend, the one who had told him to stop bullying me, came over. He told my dad what my cousin had done and what my aunt had said. My dad sat me down and apologized to me, but added that it was still wrong of me to do what I did. I just sat there silently. I was emotionally numb. My dad kept telling me he loved me and that he was sorry. I just coldly stared at him. My stepmom suggested a belated birthday celebration. I refused. I told them I didn't want a birthday party and that I wouldn't celebrate my birthday ever again. I kept my word. Every year since that day, my parents would ask me what I wanted for my birthday, and I always replied, nothing at all. I would ask them not to get any cakes and not to invite any guests. The day I was born now meant nothing to me. Even now, after all of these years, I don't celebrate my birthday. Instead, I celebrate the day I landed the job that enabled me to move away from my family and start a new life. I consider it the day of my rebirth. It was the day I was able to leave all the pain and anger behind and could plan for a life that I would live on my own terms. My aunt and uncle's crappy parenting ended up costing them dearly. If you want to know what became of them, do let me know in the comments. It's pretty satisfying. Next we've got threatened to be fired from a job I had just quit. So a little over a year ago, I had started college at a university one town over from where I lived. I decided to move into the dorms to experience the full college life, and as I had no car to drive back home, had to quit a retail job that I had for about a year and a half and turn down a manager position I was just offered. The town I go to college in is pretty small, with the only thing going for it being the university, so there were no clothing stores or entertainment places. My third week of university, a few of my new friends and myself decided to take a trip to my hometown to visit the mall. The store I used to work at was one of those very teen-centric fashion stores that had no sizes to fit my 6'3", 275-pound stature. But I decided to drop by and say hey to my past coworkers. My friends decided to look around the store, so I stayed and started to look for a gift for my girlfriend. The mall pretty much prevented security from kicking people out and only did it as a last option, so it's usually up to the stores themselves to deal with crazy customers. About 10 minutes later, a small woman came up to me and asked if I could open a changing room for her. I politely told her that I did not work there and continued to browse some hoodies. At this point, she got a little aggressive and proceeded to say,
Yes, you do work here. I've seen you here every time I go shopping."
I proceeded to explain that I had recently quit and for her to find an associate to help her. This is where she goes full Karen mode.
"Don't you lie to me. I know you work here. Stop being lazy and do your job."
After working in retail so long, I was tired of putting up with rude customers and practically jumped at the chance to let this lady have it.
For the last time, I don't work here. Buzz off, stupid.
This woman, who was only maybe about 5'3", started cussing and yelling at me in Spanish, which I barely understand, and after a few seconds switches back to English and starts yelling at me to get my manager and that she'll have me fired. The manager on duty was actually the store manager, who I really liked since she never took any BS from customers, was already on her way over. The woman, who realized it was the manager, started cussing in Spanish again, and at this point, the store manager politely told her to leave immediately in Spanish. This only made the woman angrier, as she spit out more words that I didn't even know existed, all while her daughter stood behind her, very embarrassed and a little scared. The store manager got fed up and told the lady in Spanish, "Get out before I call the police." The lady huffed and with another flurry of anger turned and started walking. About halfway out, she turned back and said,
"I'm contacting the district office to have you and that lazy piece of crap fired."
The store manager just laughed and said, "My sister is the district manager, and he doesn't even work here, stupid." We both looked at each other and let out a little laugh. I stopped looking for gifts and spent the rest of my time in the store explaining what happened to my friends and talking to the manager about other times situations like this happened when I worked there. Overall, I don't miss retail one bit, but I do miss the people I worked with, especially the store manager. She always had my back, even as a customer. Next we've got,
Do you know who I am?
backfires on business owner. Firstly, this didn't happen to me. I was with the person when they received a phone call about this issue. Then he explained it all to me. He's not on Reddit, so I'm sharing it. It's priceless. Names changed to protect identities. Listed buildings, important to the story. In the UK, there is a system for preserving ancient and important buildings. If a building has historical importance, it is known as a listed building, and the rules about how it's developed/maintained/improved are very strict. I need to be vague about the work involved, otherwise it's too easy to identify the parties involved. My friend David is skilled in a very niche area of construction. He repairs and renovates buildings using a very old construction method that hasn't been common for several centuries. All his work is on conservation projects and listed buildings. Work was required on a Grade 1 listed property. The overall building work was being done by the main contractor, ACC Limited. One part of the work is very specialized. The contractor's managers didn't know anyone who did it, so the architect gave them a list of qualified people. The contractors chose my friend because he had the earliest availability. 5 days into the work, the owner of ACC Limited, the main contractor company, arrived on site. He was throwing his weight around and being a noisy jerk. David was just doing his job and ignored him. Noisy Jerk told one of his carpenters to get him a coffee. The carpenter disappeared. Noisy Jerk continued wondering and gobbing off about delays, costing him a fortune. 15 minutes after the carpenter had disappeared, the Noisy Jerk asked my friend a question.
Where is that chippy with my coffee?
David: Don't know. Noisy Jerk:
Go and find out.
David: I'm only here for this job, pointing to the walls. I don't work for ACC Limited. Noisy Jerk:
I don't give a hoot whether you're an employee or a subcontractor. You still work for me. Now go and find my coffee.
David: Firstly, I don't appreciate being talked to like that. And secondly, my contract with you is to do these walls, nothing more. I'm definitely not a gopher. Noisy Jerk:
Oh, you don't appreciate being talked to like that, do you? Which subcontractor do you work for?
David: None. I'm self-employed. It's just me. Noisy Jerk:
A day laborer? And you've got the nerve to talk to me like that? Do you know who I am?
David: Yep. Noisy Jerk:
Well, you're fired. Get off the site now.
David: Okay, put it in writing.
Get out! Just get off the site!
David pulled his phone out and started recording. Okay, I'll go. I just want proof you told me to go. Noisy Jerk grabbed David's hand, holding the phone and screaming into the phone.
Get off the site, you idiot! You're fired. If you're still here in 10 minutes, I'll have you thrown out.
David: Cool, no problem. He picked up all his kit and walked away. As he was leaving, the contractor's site manager passed him, ironically with a coffee for the boss, and with a smile said, You're leaving early? Bloody part-timers. Joking. David: No, your boss just fired me. Our contract is ended. Sorry, mate. Site manager: No. Let me sort this out. Wait, please wait. David left. The site manager was losing his crap because he knew something that Noisy Jerk didn't. Only 7 people in the UK are qualified to do the work. They all have a waiting list, and David had been the only one available. By the time he was home, he had 12 missed calls. That was Thursday. 2 working days missed so far. He said he'll go back, but only if he gets paid for the extra days and has a genuine apology in person from the boss. I met my friend when he was getting a call from the site manager saying the boss apologizes, but is out of the country, so he can't apologize face to face. David also told me he phoned the other specialists to warn them, but they had all been phoned on Friday, begging them to do the job. They're all booked solid. David also phoned the architect to warn him. Situations like this, some unscrupulous contractors try to bodge the job and fake the work. David is going to stick to his guns. Pay for all missed days, plus face-to-face apology. He is sure he'll get it. I've said I'll pay anything to watch the face-to-face apology. Update. Site manager says he was told by Noisy Jerk to threaten legal action if David doesn't finish the job. David reminded him he didn't leave and has proof he was fired. Site manager says Noisy Jerk will apologize face-to-face on Friday. Can he start tomorrow? David said no. Following the threat of legal action, the conditions are different. 1. Face-to-face apology before work restarts. 2. Added pay for wasted days. 3. Payment of full contract value up front before work starts. 4. All must happen by Thursday. That's the last day he can start and still expect to finish before his next booking. If he also works the weekends, he has just enough time. I asked him why he isn't charging a huge extra amount for the guy being such a jerk. He said it doesn't look good if you take advantage of companies when they're under time pressure. Not the done thing. It seems that one of my friends is an 18th century gentleman. Correction. I misunderstood David when he said only 7 others do this work. He meant 7 other businesses apart from his. They're small businesses, so he says it's probably around 20 people who can do it. Still a small number, but not as comically small as 7. Sorry for misleading you all about the number. Update 2. Unfortunately, it seems there will be no apology. David has discovered that the site manager was blamed for not making Noisy Jerk aware of the situation beforehand and was fired. David contacted the operations director for ACC Limited, Noisy Jerk's number 2, and informed them that an apology is no longer required as he will not be returning to the job. The ops director apologized for everything and offered to renegotiate the money very generously. David told him that he had only considered going back to the job as a personal favor to the original site manager. Since he isn't there, he feels no obligation to return. Ops director said he will get back to David, but didn't say why. I asked why he didn't say, "Give him his job back or I won't come back." David said Noisy Jerk is too petty and weak to be told what to do by a craftsman. It will have to be the company's idea for the site manager to come back. If I tell them to bring him back, it won't happen. David says the site manager is great at his job, but is only 4 years from retirement, so it's not easy to find a job at 61. I've decided I like David even more than I did 3 days ago. Update 3. It's 2 a.m. here. We've just got back from the pub. David got a call while we were out from the sacked site manager. David updated the architect on the situation this afternoon. The architect contacted the sacked site manager to tell him about a company who needed a site manager. The sacked site manager phoned David just before 9 p.m. I had to sit through the phone call, only hearing one side. I must have looked childishly excited, like I had gotten a ton of sparrows. Then David filled me in. The site manager rang to thank him and to find out his favorite drink so he can send him a bottle. He hasn't got the new job yet, but he is seeing them on Friday. Apparently, the architect's recommendation carries some weight, so he's optimistic. David refused at first. "I didn't get you the job, the architect did." The site manager said, "But you set all this crap in motion and told the architect that I had been fired. Because of you, I never need to deal with that obnoxious jerk ever again." David wasn't specific about who the obnoxious jerk was. David said his drink is Cardew Gold Reserve. He said he will accept a bottle only if A, the site manager gets the new job, and B, if the site manager will come over and drink the Cardew with David. It looks like the handsome scribe who did the enormously difficult, time-consuming job of skillfully writing this saga down on Reddit isn't included in the consumption. As David poetically put it, "Buzz off, you knobhead. You can buy your own drink." All good news, hopefully, except that nobody gets to see that noisy jerk eat crap when he has to apologize. I was so looking forward to that. Additional information. David and the fired site manager know each other outside of work. Each are members of charity organizations in the same town. 2 different groups, but they work together a lot. Site manager is in Rotary Club, and David is in Round Table. I don't think he's a knight, but you never know. Update 4. Operations Director for ACC Limited phoned David to suggest that they take the site manager back and generously renegotiate the money. David says they've missed the boat. There is no way he can finish the job on his own before he starts his next job. There is an absolute minimum of 11 days work left if everything goes without a hitch. David's next job starts November 4th. Only 10 days left if he works both weekends. Too late. I wish I could be a fly on the wall when Noisy Jerk is told. The most common question. Many are asking what David does. If I said what it was, it's so identifying that I might as well give you his real name. Sorry. The reason there are very few of them is that it takes 5 years to become just competent and at least 9 years to be a master craftsman. The jobs need at least one master present when the work is done. Update 5. Bad news. The fired site manager didn't get the other job. He met the new company, but they're not taking him on. The reasons aren't clear. David is meeting him on Sunday to discuss it. I can tell David feels like crap about it, even though it's not his fault. Site manager says he's going to take action for unfair dismissal. I thought this was going to be a win-win-win, but I suppose life isn't like that. Update 6. News about the sacked site manager. The situation isn't as bad as we first thought. I think we misunderstood what happened on Friday. David talked to him yesterday. The company he saw on Friday are not employing him in the normal way. That part was correct. But they have offered him a fixed-term contract for 18 months on a distribution center build. It's not perfect, but on the bright side, it's slightly better paid than ACC. It's only 18 months, but that's better than nothing. There is also the chance that the new company might extend the contract if another project comes in. Update 7. David has heard that they're getting a Bulgarian to come over to do the job. David was grinning when he told me. He thinks he knows what will happen. There is a similar but different technique that was used on some 19th century buildings in Sofia. David thinks that the guy will use that technique. It looks similar, but two very important materials are different. David has decided to wait. He plans to let the Bulgarian finish the job and get paid. Then David is going to suggest to the planning department and the client that they go check the two components. Unless the Bulgarian knows the 17th century English method, he will have used the wrong materials. It would mean ripping it out and starting again. They are incredibly strict with this type of work. I shouldn't want this so much, but I really hope this happens. I'm a petty man. Further information. Many people are asking, when will David know if the Bulgarian has done the job right? David might know fairly soon, since there are very few suppliers of one of the materials. If the Bulgarian contacts them, David will be told. David's words, "It's a tiny, incestuous part of the industry, and they gossip like old women." Correction, we all gossip like old women. If the Bulgarian doesn't go there, David is leaving it alone until he is told that the work is finished and the Bulgarian is paid. He doesn't want to put the guy's money at risk. In David's words, "I don't want the Bulgarian to drag his butt over here and go home empty-handed just because I can't wait to drop silly jerk in the crap. The man's got a living to earn. I'll wait." It should take the Bulgarian about 3 weeks to finish the job unless he works weekends. David knows plenty of people on site and a few at ACC head office, so he'll know when the job is finished. So I've got to sit on my hands for 3 to 4 weeks and pretend I'm not an excited kid waiting for Christmas. Update 8. David has been told that the Bulgarian got straight to it and started work. He's had materials delivered, but from an ordinary building supplier. The stuff he needs to do the job properly is too bulky for him to bring with him, even if they sell it in Bulgaria. He hasn't ordered it from the UK supplier. There are 3, but only one has enough for this job because they got it in for David. So, unless it's coming by the road and ferry, he is not using the right materials. David wouldn't allow it to go unreported, even if he was annoyed about jerk. He's got a genuine passion for looking after all these buildings he works on, and he is a purist when it comes to historical accuracy. So now I have to hold my water for 3 to 4 weeks. David says that if he's using more modern materials, he might finish sooner. 3 weeks is the time it takes for you to stay in the 17th century. I know it doesn't look like it, but honestly, I do have a life. I promise. Update 9 will probably be in a few weeks. Karen calls cops on Amazon driver. This just happened yesterday, and I am still trying to gather my thoughts. I was driving a route that was given to me when I came into a neighborhood where there were some cones on the road close to the curb to let other drivers know that kids were playing outside. These cones were the small regular orange ones with a light at the top of it to make them more noticeable. The kids were playing in the yard, and it was very big to run around in without running into the streets. They were nowhere close to the road at all. Despite what people have said about Amazon drivers, we usually do follow the rules since we have people at the warehouse, including Amazon, watching us. I was driving a little below the speed limit since I saw the cones on the road and wanted to be respectful. Apparently, this wasn't slow enough for the mother who was outside watching the kids. She decided to start walking to my van, and for her safety, I started slowing down so I didn't hurt her since she was getting closer to my van. As she is walking, she is yelling at me, entitled Mom.
Slow down. There are kids playing outside, and your reckless driving could hurt someone.
Me. No, I was driving the speed limit. Plus, your kids are nowhere near the road. I can see your cones and know that the kids are playing.
I don't care if they are in the road or not. You need to be more considerate of other people than yourself.
This carried on for a few more minutes, me telling to her and her yelling to me. I didn't want to deal with her anymore, so I started driving off. She decided to get in front of my van in the middle of the road to stop me from driving. I yelled at her to move, and she put her hands on her hips to say,
I'm not going anywhere.
I didn't want to deal with this crazy lady anymore and needed to deliver more packages. So I turned my van to the left, and then she moved to the left. I turned my van to the right, and again, she turned to the right. At this point, I am a little past her driveway, so I started backing up and she started yelling at me more.
I know your job is hard, but you need to listen to me.
Me, please just go away.
You need to stop driving so fast.
At this point, The father comes outside and tells the mother to calm down and stop yelling. As I am backing up, I barely touch one of the cones on the ground. The father starts yelling about how I destroyed his cones and how expensive they are, and tells me how I owe them money for the cone. I park my van, and the mother is extremely close to my van now. I open my door to look at the damage, and the mother jumps in front of my door and then starts crying that I hit her with my van.
You hit me with your van.
I can't believe you hit me.
Entitled father.
I can't believe you just hit my wife. I'm calling the cops on you. You're not going anywhere.
I get back in my van and call my dispatcher to let them know what was going on so I didn't get into trouble for being late to my next drop. Our deliveries are time-based, and we can get into trouble if we sit too long. The police arrive and they come up to me and ask about what happened. The father and mother jumps in first. Entitled mom.
This man was speeding down the road at a high rate, and I tried yelling at him to slow down. He almost hit one of my kids. Then he got mad at me telling him to slow down and reversed his van and destroyed our cones. Then he slammed his door into me, hurting me in the process.
Entitled father.
I paid a lot of money for those cones, and this guy destroys them all because he got mad at my wife. The cones are to protect the kids from drivers like him. He needs to pay for my cones.
Me. You both are lying. I was driving a very slow speed when the mother decided that I was going too fast and stopped me in the middle of the road. Then, when I tried to leave, I accidentally touched one of the cones, not even damaged, and the father started yelling at me and called you guys. As for hitting her, she jumped in front of my door as I opened it. I assumed to falsify her getting hit. The officers looked at the cones and see that there is no damage to it, and then went to the mother and told her, "Police officer,
You know it's illegal in the state of Texas to stop a moving vehicle in the middle of the road. You are not allowed to block any kind of traffic. If anyone has to pay anything, it will be you paying a ticket."
I asked the police if I may go, and he said yes. I really don't like losing time and didn't want to be there longer than I needed to. I don't know what ended up happening to the mother or father, but I wish I could have remembered their address, just so I could put a little piece of paper on their door that reads, "Ha ha." Next we've got Entitled Dad and Entitled Mom try to get me kicked out of the movies for my seat. So recently, Disney released its newest movie, Frozen 2, into theaters. Now, ever since the original Frozen movie came out, I was in love with Frozen. I loved everything about it. So when Disney released the trailer, I was over the moon. I had immediately ordered tickets for me and a friend and patiently waited for the movie to come out. This is the interaction that took place while my friend and I were seated in the movie theater. Me and friend, quietly chatting while waiting for the movie to start. Entitled Mom, Entitled Dad, Kid 1 and Kid 2 walk over to us. Entitled Dad.
Excuse me, girls, but I believe you are in our seats.
Friend gets out ticket to check. Sure enough, we were in the right seats. Friend. I'm sorry, but these are the right seats. Maybe you guys are seated in a different row. Entitled Mom.
No, these are the right seats. Can I see your tickets?
Friend hands over tickets. Entitled Mom looks at them and puts them in her pockets.
How about this? We'll sit here, and you guys can go move to those seats over there. After all, there are 4 of us, and my husband and I want our kids to have a pleasant experience while we're on vacation.
Keep in mind, I bought tickets for the movie the moment they were being sold, so naturally, I'd have pick at good seats. Also, I live in a state that is a hotspot for tourists, so I've had to deal with several entitled tourists such as these. Me. Once again, ma'am, we're sorry, but these seats are ours. Besides, if I'm correct, there are 2 other people sitting on both sides. Entitled Dad.
Girls, you're being unreasonable. Where are your parents?
Me. They didn't come along.
So you 2 are seeing a movie that is clearly out of your age range?
Frozen is rated PG-13. My friend is 16 and I am 15. However, due to our faces, we can appear to be 11 and sometimes 10. Friend. No, we're old enough to see this movie.
I don't believe you are. You 2 stay right here. I'm going to get a worker.
About 2 minutes pass, and soon, entitled mom comes running back with a person who worked at the theater. Worker, is there a problem?
Yes, these two girls are in our seats and refuse to move.
Me, that's not what happened.
They are also under 13 and are here without an adult to accompany them.
Worker looks at me and friend. Do you both have your tickets? Entitled mom seemed very smug, thinking that we would be removed from the room. However, I bought the tickets on my phone and chose the seats. On the Fandango app, when you order tickets and choose your seats, it allows you to see which seats you got. Me takes out phone and shows seat numbers. Also, if you don't believe me about my age, look at this. I showed him my school app, which, when logged into, shows what grade you're in and your birthday. See, I am 15 and I'm in the 10th grade. Now, if you'll excuse me, my friend and I are trying to enjoy the movie which I had bought tickets for a few weeks ago. The worker looked at entitled mom and entitled dad and asked them for their tickets. When they gave him the tickets, the worker kicked them out. I don't know why, but apparently they had snuck in using tickets from an earlier showing. They probably got them out of the trash or found them on the floor. I learned this from the worker after the movie. All in all, me and my friend enjoyed the movie and had a great time. Of course, the time wasn't ideal because of the entitled mom and entitled dad, but knowing that they didn't see the movie that day brought a smile to my face. Next we've got entitled parent has no courtesy. So the entitled parent of my story is the worst kind of them all. It's the kind you can't get away from because it's my own mother. Today we went over to my grand's apartment for lunch. A thing to note is that in my country, it's common to have maids, but my grandparents, and my family until recently, don't have any. This is important for later into the story. My grandmother is very active in the church, so there was an event today, and no one else wanted to go, so I went instead. Before heading to the event, I ordered a pizza for the family because no one wanted to cook. The event lasted for about 1.5 hours, mostly just waiting around for the priest to show up and chatting with my grandmother's friends. Once it finished, we packed up and headed back to her place. Since we took so long, everyone else ate already, and it was just me and her left eating at the table. After we finished, she was the only one cleaning. I tried to help, but she insisted I didn't. Meanwhile, my mom was sitting at the sofa, not moving. Mind you, they left a bit of a mess as well. Now, this is where the no maids comes into play. For a good 9 months, we only had a cleaning lady come on weekends. At first, I was the one cleaning the house and the dishes, and we would have the laundry done on the weekends. I soon got tired of this because my mom was a mess. It would come to a point where she would leave plates, cups, and utensils in the sink, bedside table, dining table, anywhere she could put them really, all unwashed for days, sometimes weeks. Her laundered clothes would be stacked on chairs and the side of her bed. She would never sweep her room or wipe any of the surfaces. She had dogs that just left and would let their poop accumulate in the backyard. Mind you, she would never walk the dogs at all, and one of them is a lab that was wildly untrained and out of control. She even bit my dog, but that's a story for another time. And these dogs managed to go from fat and fluffy to skinny little things because she forgot to feed them. Basically, she was operating as if we still had people to pick up after her. Whenever I would lecture her about it, she would say,
"Those aren't mine. I didn't use those."
Or when she couldn't use that excuse,
"Don't worry, I'll get to it."
we got into a huge argument because she didn't want to even look for new maids and stated,
"Well, we can just clean the house ourselves."
The point was, she couldn't even clean after herself. I realized that during the time we didn't have maids, she would spend more and more time at my grandmother's house. All those times my mother didn't come home while we were maidless, this is what she was doing to her. She was leaving her 65-year-old mom to clean by herself while she relaxed on the sofa watching TV. She basically had a free maid to cook and clean after her. This was probably going on for the longest time, and I couldn't fathom how someone could just leave their mother to do all the work. It was one thing to be lazy in your own home, but in someone else's? My grandmother afterwards started folding clothes, so I started helping her out. Meanwhile, my mom is still relaxing on the couch. When it got really late, like 12, my sister wanted to leave as she was the one driving. My mom took forever to get up. My sister got so upset she left. So what does my mom do? She then asks my gran for a glass of water when she was literally 5 steps away from the kitchen. After a while, I told my mom to hurry up because sister was waiting for her, and it looked to me like she was taking her sweet time. She then snapped with a,
"Yeah, wait, my foot is wet."
When she was done, she was still looking around, not caring about how long she was taking. When we finally left the condo 15 minutes later, we went down and had to walk and look for my sister a bit because she moved the car. When we got in, my mom threw my sister's bag out of her way so she could sit. My sister's laptop was in the backpack, and of course, my sister is mad and says, "What the heck? Don't throw my things. My laptop is in there. Hand me my laptop now." Mom is huffing and shoves the bag to my sister. My sis hadn't put the car on neutral, so I tell her to give it to me so I can check it while she drives. After I make sure it's okay, my mom asks for the laptop and she shoves it back into my sister's bag. She's still upset for no reason. I can tell because of the way the laptop thuds when it's tossed into the bag, and I can hear her zip the bag roughly. She doesn't even apologize and huffs and puffs in the back seat. I proceed to drown her out with rap music. This is the other entitled parent that I think receives little attention and exposure. The kind that believes they don't need to have basic courtesy because
"We're family."
and
"When you live with someone, it's obvious you'll see them at their worst."
her words. It's the kind that chirps away at you every day with the small things they do because they can't empathize with anyone but themselves. Next we've got, I almost got in trouble with a manager I've never worked under. So a few months ago, I stopped working at a large chain retail/grocery store. I had worked there for around 2 years. They don't necessarily have a set uniform. Each department wears something slightly different, but still with the store logo. Sometimes if you're just filling in or a new starter or temp without uniform, you can just wear smart clothes, but still with a name tag. Cut to earlier today. I had just been to an interview, so I was wearing somewhat smart clothing, blouse and black trousers, and had popped into said store for some groceries on my way home. I'm only planning on getting a few things, so I don't take a basket. I'm a bit of a neat freak when it comes to stores, so as I was looking for products, I'd also straighten the shelves a bit. You can't tell me nobody else does this. Suddenly, a middle-aged woman approached me and asked where she could find hemp milk. Me. "Oh, sorry, I don't work here, but I believe it's in aisle 24 or 26. Her, already annoyed.
"Listen, I've had a busy day, and I don't have time for your games. I can see you straightening shelves. You work here. Now, take me to the hemp milk. It's for my daughter's husband. He's got a milk allergy, and I just want some hemp milk."
Me. I understand, but I don't work here. Her, loudly, obviously irate.
"Stop messing with me. I've seen you working here. I just witnessed you straightening the shelves. I've told you I've had a busy day. Now take me to the milk so I can go home."
Me. I honestly don't know where it would be. I'm sorry, but I need to get home myself. I move around her to carry on with my day, but as I do so, a manager I don't recognize walks down the aisle. The lady screams at him about me not helping her. I turn to him to explain that I don't work there, but before I can say anything, she's shouting and pointing at me, and there are customers around us watching what's going on. The manager is obviously new to the store and is likely embarrassed at the other customers looking at us, so asks the lady and I if we could come to the back of the store. This is normal. There's a couple of security rooms at the rear of the store for interviewing irate customers and staff that have broken rules, lost money, etc. I try to explain through her shouting that I don't work there, but follow along anyway. The manager asks the lady to wait in one room whilst he opens the door to the other one next to it and waves me inside. Before I can speak, he starts saying that as a new starter, I should be trying to make a good impression on the company, and that I can expect to be fired for ignoring and being rude to a customer like that. Before I've entered, one of the supervisors I used to know well comes into the hallway the rooms are on. It connects the shop floor to the colleague toilets and sees me. He immediately starts chatting, asking how I am, etc. He then realizes I'm going into a security room and questions it. I explain that a customer thinks I'm being a rude employee and that I haven't yet been able to get a word in edgeways to explain to this manager that I don't work here. The old supervisor immediately starts laughing at the predicament, saying that I left months ago, and the manager, still holding the door, flushes bright red with embarrassment. He starts apologizing profusely to me, stating that he's new here and hasn't had a chance to meet the colleagues properly. He even offers me vouchers. Luckily, I'm in pretty good spirits and laugh it off. Poor guy seemed stressed beyond belief. I left to go to the shop floor as he went in to speak to the customer, so I don't know how she took the news, but hopefully he came out alive. Next we've got make me do the bulk of the work, have fun repeating class, and a little more. I am what you would call a mature student. I'm a mother, and this class was 85% fresh out of high school students. This story takes place in a class that is required in order to get a degree. At the beginning of the semester, my instructor assigned partners for several large assignments due throughout the semester. This was new to me since my other classes never did this, but this professor was new and I figured it was to save time in marking. There were 4 major assignments due. At first, my partner, Sarah, not real name, was great in the first project. She did her half and gave it to me in a timely manner so I could add her information to mine. I'm kind of a perfectionist and she didn't mind. I thought we were good, but by midway through the term, I kept getting messages she was busy or didn't have enough time to complete her part. I'm pretty laid back, so while it did irritate me, I figured I could help her and did most of her half. Side note, I'm friends with the ladies in her dorm, and one roommate is my cousin. I went out for a drink with some of them one night, and the more they drank, the more they started talking about Sarah and being annoyed with her. Apparently, Sarah was going out to party almost every night, and when she returned, was loud. She never cleaned up after herself and often brought back random people. My cousin at this point said she was bragging about getting a free ride in most of her classes that required partner work. All she had to do was come up with a poor excuse that was all, "Woe is me," and her partners fell for it. My cousin pitied them and didn't think it was fair. She didn't know we were partners in this class. This upset me, but I didn't say anything. Third major project came, and sure enough, she made excuses. I gave her a lot of ways to make up time, adjusting my schedule to hers, willing to meet her at the library in the evenings and weekends, offering tips for time management, and nope, still with excuses. Third project received great marks too. Okay, to revenge. The final project is worth 45% of the grade. It makes up for a final exam and pretty much a make or break assignment for grades. I was done with her. A week before it was due, I still gave her the benefit of the doubt, and she pretty much shot me down. Told me I was such a big help to a fresh student, and she will do what she can to help, but please don't expect a miracle. By this time, I pretty much had the project done by me 100%. I scheduled a meeting with the professor with documents to show her of how she had never helped. I gave her copies of my email exchanges, text messages, and her admitting she didn't do anything to contribute. But if I was so kind enough to add her name to the assignment because I am her partner after all. I told the professor that I have been carrying the bulk of the work on projects, and while I understand Sarah is adjusting to university life, I don't find it fair if she got marks on this final project when I've done it myself. In short, I was allowed to hand it in under myself, and Sarah received an email stating she had a week to hand in the assignment on her own. I blocked her number and left email messages unopened. Also, I informed her roommates to keep documented evidence of her skirting her responsibilities to hand into the office and informed her other partners on her behavior and how she treated me. In the end, she failed the assignment and pretty much the class. She was kicked out of her dorm. Surprise inspection found things she shouldn't have had and failed another major assignment in another course. Her partner is an acquaintance of mine. She was later kicked out in the following semester for handing in plagiarized work. Karen thought I was a manager because of my clothes and gets put in her place by someone you may not expect. I've been reading a few posts here on this subreddit and didn't have any stories to share. Until now. This is both wholesome and entertaining. You'll see what I mean. Note, all names have been changed, including mine. I work as a housekeeper at a hospital, and the required attire are scrubs. So, on days when I'm not cleaning toilets or mopping floors, I like to dress up and accessorize. One day, on my day off, I was wearing a nice brown paisley dress with a heathered mustard cardigan and needed to go to my local supermarket for a lot of basic necessities. As I was deciding which flour is best for this bread I was planning to bake, I heard an aged voice.
Excuse me, miss?
I turned around and saw an elderly lady. She seemed to be about 70, a little hunched, and about 5 inches shorter than I am.
Could you please help me? I really need to get some confectioner's sugar, and it's awfully high from my reach. Would you hand me over the small box from that top shelf over there?
I'm very polite and like to help those in need, so I replied, "Oh, sure, no problem." I grabbed her a decent-looking box and put it in her cart.
Thank you so much.
She smiled.
Now, could you help me with several other things?
Sure. I wasn't in a hurry. The lady wanted me to help her with about 5 more items. I figured she must have needed help, since she's definitely not the woman she once was. As soon as we finished, she was all smiles and thanked me. "It's no trouble," I replied. We exchanged a few more words, and finally, she introduced herself as Dolores. I introduced myself, and then we both went our separate ways. Next week followed, and I had to go to the store again. And guess who I bumped into? Dolores saw me, and then asked me if I could help her with her shopping. Kind of strange for her to ask me again, but okay. As I was helping her, we had more conversation. What our families are like, our hobbies, what we like to cook, etc. She thanked me again, and then I went to start my shopping. Fast forward to yesterday. Thanksgiving is my family's biggest holiday celebration, only because it's more convenient for our huge family to get together. Because our party usually comes up to 50 people, and that the festivities happen at my parents' house, not to mention the same house my dad grew up in, I needed to help my mom get most of the groceries. I just got out of church, so I was wearing black pants and shoes, a nice top with a cardigan, makeup conservatively done, jewelry, and hair sticks. Mom and I grabbed our own carts. We split the list and then split up. I was grabbing some pimento cheese and roca bleu when I hear the all too familiar "Ahem." I turn around and see our Karen. Karen.
Are you done fiddling with those, or are you still daydreaming?
Me. Neither. I'm shopping for Thanksgiving.
Are you allowed to do that?
I believe so. I'm American. Karen huffs.
Well, one of your employees was incredibly rude to me. Follow me, please.
Employees, I thought. What the heck does that mean? I decided I better not mess with this woman and see where this goes. I follow her to the dairy aisle where I see spilled milk and Cody, a friendly boy who I met months back. He was mopping up the mess. Me. Oh, hi Cody. What's up? Cody. Well, Holly,
I'll tell you what's up. I was looking at egg substitutes when this young man spilled milk on the floor and expected me to slip on it like it's a joke. When I called him out on it, he refused to admit it and apologize.
Cody. Sincerely. That's not true. I just happened to see the milk on the floor and was going to find a mop and bucket to clean it up. I don't know how this happened, and I'm very sorry, ma'am, but this lady doesn't work here. Karen.
Now you're going to lie your way out of this? To me? You see what kind of people you hire if you're not careful enough? You need to fire this brat immediately.
Me. Actually, ma'am, it's true. I'm not a manager. And even if I was, I really doubt anyone would get fired over a little accident. Karen, enraged.
A little accident? I could have slipped and broken something. And what do you mean you're not a manager? You're all dressed up like one. You even know this kid's name.
Me. But I'm not wearing a badge. I just like to dress up nicely. Plus, I shop here and see Cody all the time, as he has helped me before. He's a great person, and you'd be silly to say otherwise. Karen, shocked, and points directly at me.
You have got some nerve to trick people like this. I know you work here, but it is clear to me that you are not management material. I will report both of you to the next higher up.
And she stormed off, stubbornly clinging to her beliefs and decidedly likely to chew someone else up and spit them out. Cody. Wow. I can't believe she still thinks you're a manager. Me. I can't believe she's going to be that upset over spilled milk. Literally. Cody. It happens more than you know. Me. I'll take your word for it. Have a good one, Cody. I went back about my shopping business when I bumped into none other than Dolores. Dolores.
Hello, Holly. How have you been?
Me. Great. Just getting some Thanksgiving business done. Dolores.
That's good, that's good. By the way, did you know there's a spill near the milk area? You might want to send someone to clean it up.
Me. Oh yeah, Cody is already on it. Dolores.
See? That's just the kind of service you don't get much these days.
Service? Wait, she can't think. Before I could respond, I get cut off with,
There she is.
Lo and behold, there was Karen, marching down the aisle with Brian, a head manager. He's a pretty big, tough guy, but nice enough. Karen.
Thought I would forget about you,
To Brian.
This is her, sir.
Dolores.
Karen, what's going on?
Karen.
Mom, that witch you're talking to is a fraud.
That's right, folks. Karen is Dolores' daughter. I was just wondering as how such a sweet lady could have such an entitled jerk for a daughter. One equation that does not compute. Brian, to me. This lady here says that you were posing as a manager, lied for one of the employees, and acted disrespectful towards her. Is that true? Me. No, Karen.
Of course it's true. Why would anyone dress up just to go to a grocery store?
That is a valid point, I admit. But as a citizen who lives in the land of the free and the home of the brave, it's my right to dress however I see fit. Me. So, because I put more effort into my appearance, that automatically makes me a manager or otherwise a liar?
Exactly.
So that's how her thinking works. If you're dressed in a uniform of some sort, you must be a menial of some sort. And when you're dressed professionally, you're a manager. That's Karen logic for you. Dolores, obviously confused.
Wait a minute. There must be some mistake. Holly has been such a big help to me various times. She would never do anything to hurt anybody.
Me. Oh, Dolores, I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm not a manager. I don't even work here. Dolores.
Wait, are you serious?
Me. Yes, I'm sorry how things made it seem that way, but it's true. I'm not a manager. I never was. Dolores.
Then how come you've helped me twice if you weren't?
Me. I know you genuinely needed help. I just did it to be kind. That's how I was raised. Dolores' eyes widened, and she put her hand to her mouth as she realized her mistake. Karen.
This is unacceptable. You clearly have no decency. How dare you mess with my mother that way? You're an imposter of a manager and a disgrace as a human being. People like you sicken me.
Back to Brian.
You need to ban her from this store.
Brian. Ma'am, our policy only turns away customers who are dressed inappropriately. This woman is not violating any dress code. If someone walks around a store and is not wearing a badge, they are most likely a customer. As for the milk spill, we can go check the security footage if you want, but I really doubt someone like Cody would do that, especially since he discovered it, reported the incident to me, and got to cleaning it up fast. Karen.
How dare you? This is poor customer service. Ban this little jerk, or I'm calling the police.
Dolores.
Karen, you will do no such thing. You're acting ridiculous. This is not how we handle things when we are in the wrong. If there is anyone to blame, it is myself for assuming that this young lady was a manager. I suppose after seeing so many young women dress in ways they shouldn't lately, I forgot that there are still decent ladies out there.
She smiled at me. Karen was flabbergasted. Then she finally spoke in a much different tone.
But, Mom, she,
Dolores.
is an exceptional woman, and I'm grateful to know that there is still hope for human decency.
To Karen.
You, on the other hand, have forgotten what's important in life. I've raised you kids better than this. You owe this lady an apology for judging her appearance, and the gentleman for wasting his time. Right now.
Karen.
But,
Dolores.
Right now.
Everyone was speechless. In this day and age, you don't see many Karens get put in their place by their own parents. Karen was quiet for a while, but finally apologized. After a few more minutes of clearing the air and seeing that no harm was really done, I went back about my business and finally finished up my list. My mom caught up with me and asked where I've been, and I told her the story. She was surprised, but then hugged me, saying, "That's my girl." I learned something invaluable. No matter how dark the world may be, keep being someone's ray of sunshine. By helping someone out, they're more likely to help you. This is going to be quite a story to share with the family on Thanksgiving. Next, we've got Entitled Mom Wants My Friend's Sleds. I finally found one. This happened this afternoon. Cast. We've got me. We've got my friend. We've got friends' kids. And we've got Entitled Mom. We don't get a lot of snow in southern Arizona. A snowstorm hits the mountains near town maybe 3 times a year, and there is a mad rush to get into the mountains and play in the snow. This week, we had such a storm. Fortunately for us, the county sheriff didn't update road conditions, so the mountain was surprisingly uncrowded today. I met some friends on the mountain to share lunch, do a bit of hiking, and let my friends' kids play in the rare snow. Being from the Midwest, I must inform you that when I say snow, I'm not talking about what many of us grew up at more northern latitudes mean when we say snow. It usually comes down damp, and the rare occasion you get a dry snow. By the time the county clears the road, there's been at least one 50-degree day, so what snow is left is hard and covered with a thin sheet of ice from refreezing the night before. But for kids who've never seen snow, it was paradise. Needless to say, we don't have a huge demand for sleds. You can't just walk into Walmart and buy one. On the rare occasion you can find something, it's usually one of those cheap plastic circle things with cheap handles. Occasionally you'll find the plastic sheets that roll up with a handle in the front, but you'll never find the really good plastic ones that you can get 2 kids onto and has good handles. You'll see a lot of people improvising with trash can lids, trash bags, cardboard, whatever they can find that will go down the snow. A year ago, my friend drove home to Wyoming, and when he was there, he purchased a couple of really nice plastic toboggans for his kids. I'm certain you can see where this is going. We had finished our playing around and were getting ready to head back down the mountain. My friend was getting the kids into the car. The toboggans were leaning against the side of his truck. I was about 50 feet away, packing up and cleaning up after the picnic. I'll describe the scene in order, but some of the details I was made aware of after the fact. Enter Entitled Mom. She's young, she's very pretty, and she put on a lot of makeup to bring her kid to the mountains. She's wearing black leather knee-high boots with 4-inch heels, a cable knit sweater, and one of those puffy vests with the fur hood. She's perfectly manicured with every hair in place.
Excuse me, are you done with your sleds?
My friend. Yeah, but we're headed down the mountain. Entitled Mom, grinning.
Great.
And starts grabbing one of the toboggans. My friend. I'm sorry, but we're leaving now. And reaches for his sled. She jumps back and exclaims,
My kid wants to sled. The thing we brought isn't working.
My friend. I'm sorry. If you'd asked earlier, maybe. But we're leaving now.
But I promised my kid.
My friend is a great guy, but he has a very low threshold for BS. I couldn't care less if your kid cries all night and never gets to trust you again. Now give me my sled.
But you're done with it, and the snow will be gone tomorrow.
My friend. It will snow again, and my kid is gonna want his sled.
Can't we just use it for a bit? I promise I'll get it back to you.
Lady, I don't know you, and I live over an hour from town. Are you gonna deliver it to my house?
Sure.
My friend thinks about it a second. $200.
What? I'm not going to buy your stupid sled.
And I'm not selling it. $200 and you can use it the rest of the weekend. Return it undamaged, and I'll refund you $175 and keep $25 as a rental fee. Entitled Mom.
I'm not giving you $200 for your stupid sled. I don't know you. You'll just keep my money.
My friend. And you'll just keep my sled if I loan it to you for free. Entitled Mom, obviously offended and indignant.
How dare you imply I'm not trustworthy?
My friend is now beyond annoyed. Just give me back my sled, and steps towards her. She steps back, And remember those 4-inch heels? They're not appropriate footwear for compacted snow and slush. Down she goes. About that time, I was walking back to my car, which was parked a few spaces down from him, and I had to walk past him to get to my car. I see that they're having a conversation and see her go down. I run up to try and help, and she grabs me by the arm.
Sir,
She says to me.
did you see? He assaulted me.
My friend steps forward and picks up his sled. She recoils into me and screams,
Get away from me.
and looks at me with pretty eyes that are half as old as mine. I can tell she is trying to flirt me into becoming her savior. Now my friend isn't super intimidating, but he's got a beard that gets pretty scraggly if it hasn't been oiled and brushed, and has a lot of tattoos. When he's actually dressed down for work and not wearing an old hoodie, ball cap, and jeans, he's a stud, but violent he is not. He's easily irritated, but he has one of the gentlest souls I know. I lifted her to her feet and looked at my friend and asked, Hey, what's going on? My friend, This crazy. I knew what word he wanted to say, but to his credit, he didn't. This lady wanted to borrow a sled. I said no. She copped an attitude and fell on her butt. Entitled Mom.
What? No. He wanted to scam me on that crappy sled, and then he pushed me.
She said, looking at me. My friend had been behind a car where I couldn't see him. I just saw her fall, but I knew he hadn't pushed her. Me. Miss, if there is one thing I'm certain of in this world, it's that he didn't push you. Entitled Mom.
I'll call the police.
My friend, exasperated at this point. That's it. He looks at his phone and asks me, Do you have a signal? I did. Call 911 for me. Tell them a woman tried to steal my sled and is now accusing me of assault. I dial.
What? No.
She storms off to her new BMW where her kid had been standing the whole time and drives away. 911, what is your emergency? Me. Hey, sorry. Someone was trying to steal a friend's property, but she drove off unsuccessfully, and we don't want to press charges. Do you still need to send someone out? They didn't, but took my info and a description of her car and hung up. Next we've got, a receipt is not a gift card. I work in a large clothing store in a mall. We use gift cards both as gift cards and as a voucher, if that's the correct word, if you return an item. We have two types, both cardboard. One is pretty large with gift card printed in big letters at the top. The other is about the same size, but with an area you can push out, so it's the size of a credit card, with all the information written on it, also with the gift card title printed on it, albeit not as large. When we sell a gift card / give out a voucher, we have to have 2 employees sign it. We print the information on it with a noisy printer. We stamp it with our store stamp, and if it's a voucher, we staple the receipt to the gift card as well. Now, I've worked in this store since it opened almost 4 years ago and never had a problem with this until this lady came to my register. We have me, we have the gift card lady. On to the story. I was shift manager when this happened, working the register. Lady walks up to me with a sweater, and when she's about to pay, she puts a receipt on the counter, and she says she's paying with a voucher. Me. Did you bring the voucher? Lady.
It's right there.
Points to the receipt. I look at the receipt and see she returned an item worth about $14. Me. I'm sorry, but this is just a receipt showing you received a voucher. I need the actual voucher to be able to register it.
I was never informed that this wasn't the voucher. If you're talking about the cardboard that came with it, I threw it away. It was way too big, and in every other store, the receipt is the voucher. The cardboard is usually just the container.
Me. I'm really sorry, but it clearly states on the cardboard that it's a gift card. There's a barcode I need to scan, and it was also signed by 2 employees, printed information on it, and stamped by us. I also show her how our gift cards look. I'm sorry if you misunderstood, but unfortunately, I cannot do anything with just the receipt, as the voucher needs to be sent into corporate when it's used. Lady argues a bit more, getting pretty upset, and eventually leaves without buying the new item. I thought it was over, but I was wrong. The next morning, I'm working with our store manager and tell her about everything that went down, as we love laughing at stupid customers getting upset over something that's their own fault. Not even 30 minutes later, she gets a call from our area manager. She received an angry email from the customer claiming I refused to let her use her gift card because she tossed the cardboard surrounding it. Now, our area manager is really sweet, and she even trained me before I started. So when my boss started explaining my side of the story, she realized the lady was full of bull. Area manager had thought we refused to accept the second type of gift card, where you could remove the surrounding cardboard to keep the credit card-sized cardboard with information on it. Upon learning that the lady in fact didn't bring any gift card, only a receipt, she forwarded the mail to my store manager to let her reply. And I tell you, it was a magnificent reply. I don't remember it word for word, but she basically spoon-fed her the same information I gave her about how obvious it is that the cardboard is the voucher, and that it's sad to hear that she managed to throw away $14 clearly marked gift card. Everyone working that day heard the story and ran to the office to read the emails. And after this, we clearly state to customers that the gift card marked gift card is indeed the gift card. Next we've got entitled Mom Tried to Take My AirPods, Works for My Father. Cast. We've got entitled Mom, we've got entitled Kid, we've got Manager, and we've got me. So a bit of backstory. I'm really young to be working, and I look younger than I am. When I go to work, I wait in the lobby since the employee room is small and I don't want to bug others. I usually have AirPods in to listen to music as I'm bored. A lot of the dialogue I wasn't there for. I have been told what has been said by the manager and coworkers. Enjoy. Story time. So, entitled Mom and entitled Kid walk into the store and I'm waiting in the lobby listening to music. When they walk in, it goes like this. Entitled Kid. Mummy, that man has AirPods. It's not fair. Entitled Mom.
Oh, honey, I'm sure they're fake. You don't want fake AirPods, do you?
No, Mummy. So anyways, they go up to the counter to buy food, and it's nearing my clock-in time, so I go into the back to get changed. Entitled Kid. Mummy, he has a job. It's not fake AirPods. At this moment, Entitled Kid starts throwing a temper tantrum. In an effort to calm her down, Entitled Mom.
Oh, honey, he's visiting his dad. He doesn't actually work here.
Keep in mind, this woman has no idea who I am or who my father is, but she has heard of my father. So I travel into the back and get changed. I come out with my AirPods in, and the kid starts screaming.
Mummy, he has a job. It's not fake. This isn't fair. Buy me some.
She also wails and cries a bit. Entitled Mom.
Don't worry, honey. I'll get you some now.
So the entitled mom calls over my manager. This is the dialogue I got from coworkers.
Excuse me? That employee is extremely rude.
Manager. The one taking the order?
No, the boy in the back.
So my manager goes off and gets Joel. Not actual name, as he was in the back at the time. Entitled Mom.
No, the rude boy.
Manager. Ma'am, this is the only boy we have in the back.
The short boy.
Manager. You mean OP? I'll go get him. Manager. Hey, this lady says you're being rude. Me. I've been sitting in the back. I haven't said anything to anyone. Yeah, I know. Just come out. So I walk out to the front and see entitled mom and entitled kid. And she goes on about how I was intentionally trying to upset her kid. And how I must have heard the lies she was saying and how they deserve compensation. Me. Ma'am, I can't give out free meals.
I don't want the meal. I want your headphones.
Me. No, I'm not giving you my AirPods.
The customer is always right. And don't you mean my AirPods?
Me. No, my AirPods. I may have to say you're right, but you can't demand AirPods I've bought with my own money.
Do you know who I am?
No, I also don't really care. At this point, entitled mom hands me a business card. She's on the board of directors for a fairly larger company. Now this is where it gets fun. Me. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can fix this all. I didn't know you were her. Entitled kid.
I want my AirPods now, Mummy.
My manager tries to defend me, saying I don't have to give her my AirPods, and I said, no, I'll give her something. I walk back and pull out my dad's business card. As I walk back, entitled mom sees I don't have my AirPods with me, and then demands to see someone of higher power. I hand her my father's business card. My dad is the CEO of entitled mom's partner company. So I said, here's someone of higher power. You have a meeting with him tomorrow. Entitled mom.
Why does this matter to me? It's someone's business card.
Me. My dad doesn't like when you belittle his kids.
You're not his kid.
Me. Indeed I am. Have fun with my father. Entitled Mom.
On second thought, you don't have to give me the AirPods.
Me. I had no intention of giving you anything. Entitled Mom then went on a long plead for me not to tell my dad, and when I refused, she pretty much called me a spoiled brat who doesn't understand anything and how ignorant I am, etc. She and her kid left, and my dad has been notified. She has a meeting with him tomorrow at 9. If this gets enough likes, I'll post an update. Entitled Mom and Kid mad that we don't have frozen food trays/cups. For context, I work at a movie theater. Cast. We've got me, Entitled Mom, Entitled Kid, we've got the manager, and the random customer. So yeah, I work at a movie theater and Frozen 2 just came out. I had already worked the Friday and Saturday, so I had come prepared, drank a Red Bull before my shift, and had some Advil in my backpack to take during my break. We had our mix of rude guests and nice ones. Lots of people in costume as well, mostly girls and women dressed as Elsa and Anna. Anyway, this mom and her daughter come to me. I work concession, towards the end of my shift. The daughter, probably around 6 or 7, was dressed as Elsa, right down to the hair. I noticed this and made conversation with her and the mom, just talking about Frozen and how busy the theater was. The problem began when it came time for me to take her order. She wanted a drink and popcorn for herself and a kids combo for her daughter. Now, normally, our theater gets movie-themed kids' trays and cups if a movie is out around that time. We've gotten it for Dora, Angry Birds, and Addams Family. For whatever reason, we didn't get any for Frozen 2, which even I found a little stupid, but I digress. She wanted the kids combo as she was expecting a Frozen theme stuff. However, when she saw that it was our generic kids combo tray and cup, her smile slipped.
Excuse me? I want the Frozen Kids combo, not the regular one.
Sorry, ma'am, but we don't have any Frozen Kids combo stuff. The theater never got any.
How come?
I don't know, but trust me, I'm just as surprised as you are. She seemed to accept that when her daughter piped up.
Mummy, I want the Frozen stuff. Do you at least have any Frozen buckets?
We sometimes got buckets for popcorn that guests could buy, but those were typically saved for bigger movies, like Avenger Endgame or Star Wars. Sorry, we literally didn't get any Frozen food merch at all.
Well, what Frozen merch did you get?
Just toys and blankets. At this point, the mom is upset. The daughter is whining. There's a huge line. There were 10 of us working that day, and we all had huge lines, and it was nearing the end of my shift. Entitled Kid.
Mummy, I want Frozen. Look, now you've gone and made her upset. She is doing really good in school, and I wanted to treat her to a movie night.
Me. How? It's not my fault the theater didn't get any Frozen merch. Like I said, I'm just as surprised as you are. At this point, the daughter is losing her crap, and the people behind them are getting impatient. Me. Ma'am, would you like to order anything else? There are a lot of people behind you.
I don't give a darn about them. What am I supposed to get my daughter?
We have Frozen toys and other merch.
I'm already paying a ton for the tickets and food. Now I have to spend money on your overpriced toys?
Me. Ma'am, there is nothing I can do. Now, can we finish your order? There are other people behind you. Entitled Kid.
Mummy? Okay, fine. I'll take all this food. But is there any way I can get those toys for free?
No.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm paying cash, and I can't get her food and toys.
Me. I don't give a crap what you do. Just hurry it up. I kinda regret saying that, as I like to be the better person when I'm at work. But it had been a long day. She was holding up the line with her complaining, and my shift was almost over, so I wanted to go home and sleep. She looked at me like she just took a slap to the face. Entitled Kid.
Mummy, he said a bad word. That is no way to talk to a customer, you little brat. I want to speak to your manager.
So I called my manager. With this lady still holding up the line, nothing I could do. My manager came and asked what happened. The entitled mom told her everything, from the lack of Frozen food merch. Seriously though, Who even collects that? Except maybe for the bins. To my rudeness. Manager. Is that true? Me. Yes, I didn't mean it, but she refused to calm down and was holding up the line.
See? He is still giving me attitude. I demand you fire him.
Manager. I will discipline him later, but he is right. We don't have what you want and you're holding up the line. I can give you half off your food for his behavior, but nothing more.
Give me that Elsa doll too.
Sure, if you want to pay for it.
Forget you. I am never coming back to this theater again. You just lost a regular customer.
Random customer.
Oh no! What will this theater do without your money?
Entitled mom huffed and turned red, while her daughter was half crying, half whining. My manager finished the transaction and pulled me aside as the person taking over for me had arrived as well. She basically told me I had to stay level-headed in a situation like this and not to provoke people. She let me off with a warning and I went home. No exciting ending like other people's stories, but yeah, sometimes I really don't like the people I meet. Next we've got entitled mom in restaurant has a fit, tries the no you excuse because of a kid that isn't mine. Yesterday for lunch, me, my significant other, and some family went to a Greek restaurant nearby. It's semi-upscale, so not the place you'd necessarily go to in a tracksuit, but not evening wear either. We sit at our reserved table when a group of 7 wanders in without a reservation. All adults, one mother with a pram, and a kid of maybe 5. They get shown a table, instantly complain it's too small, etc. They're also a bit loud, but whatever. I'm set facing their table, so I see this all as it unfolds. They order. Entitled mom complains there is so much lamb and seafood on the menu. Well, yeah. Their starters arrive. She decides to feed her baby. Now, I don't mind this, especially as she even used a cloth to cover. No problems here. The older kid is walking around, but not being a problem. Then, to my horror, with her free hand, she starts eating, as in a full fork hovered over the baby. Trust me, this woman was not starving. Could have waited a minute. She was eating something hot, and I watched in fascinated horror as she nearly dropped the food on the kid multiple times. And then it happens. It falls right on the baby. The thin cloth didn't help, obviously, and the kid starts screaming. I felt awful for it, to be honest. She jumps up, yanks the cloth off, and tries to soothe the kid, walking towards the door. At this point, the whole restaurant is staring at her. The older kid is messing with the decorations in the restaurant, touching glass and leaving fingerprints, doesn't give a hoot about his mother at all. The rest of her table didn't seem to either. Next to our table is another family in the place, with a boy of maybe, 14? He was on his way back from the restroom when this went down and froze next to us, like everyone else. She looks around and for some reason singles me out. As the baby is still crying, stomps over and tells me that I need to teach my son that he can't stare at women in public. I look at the kid. Kid looks at me. I'm 25 and look it. I'm clearly not at all related to the boy. Like comically, obviously not. I managed to stutter out that he's not my son and that everyone is staring because of how she's acting when her other son manages to knock over a top-heavy vase filled with small decorative beads that spill everywhere instantly. I thought, yay, she'll leave me alone. But no. She starts screaming again about how my son traumatized hers and he's acting out because he's so upset. The kid actually looked sort of upset that he knocked it and tried to scoop the beads back. A waiter had a broom handy and took care of it properly. Anyway, the entitled mom just keeps ranting at me how mothers like me, I have no kids, are the reason good mothers get a bad rap. I assume she meant herself there, but I don't know. My boy, in the meantime, just walks back to his parents and tries to hide behind his actual dad. Just in case there was doubt, that's not my whiter-than-the-moon ginger significant other. I'm sitting in front of my plate, just watching her scream and scream until she presumably got sick of it. I wish I could say I said something clever, but all I came up with was, wow. She went back to her table, sat down, and yeah. The rest of the time there, she glared. The table was loud. It was so bizarre. The family next to us apologized when they left. They were super sweet, even if the boy was still mortified. Unfortunately, we'd only just gotten our own food, so we couldn't just leave. The waiters all had that universal look of, "Forget this table," in particular when they came over to Entitled Mom's group. The rest of the table in the meantime all acted like nothing happened. They didn't acknowledge the freakout, the screaming baby, or anything else as far as I could tell. They were, however, obnoxious as heck. I overheard them asking for stuff off their bill when we left and walked past them, and OMG, such a nuisance. I was still trying to process when we were all back home. Next we've got Entitled Dad demands homeowners let him park in their yard. This happened several years ago at a home football game, and I lived near a busy street, so there's a lot of traffic by my house. For some reason, people not from this area feel the need to drive on people's yards as if it is a parking lot rather than on the curb. Not only that, but the city and college provide visitors with free parking in lots closer to the stadium, so there's no reason for the drama that occurs over parking. On to the main event. I was talking to a few of my family's friends that have just arrived at my house for the game, and I let them park on my driveway and moved my car into the backyard. For those who don't know, some inner-city homes, such as mine, have the driveways parallel to the house rather than in direct connection from the house to the road. Cue Entitled Dad. He arrives in a shiny new F-150 and demands I let him park in my yard next to my car. They're not my friends or family, so I told them no. He was mad, but decides to turn around, and I watch him head towards another house, which also had a family gathering. I'm not sure if he talked to them first before approaching me, but I could hear them shouting at each other from 3 houses away. I figured he assumed the family's cars were also a pass to park there, but he wasn't taking no for an answer. The truck turns towards their yard and goes through their property. I could see people scrambling to get out of his way, and his truck disappears behind the house for a moment, but then he comes flying back out, runs over an old dude, and drags him out into the street. At this point, the entire family runs to the guy's aid, and I turn around to tell my family to call 911 and request an ambulance. I assumed the Entitled Dad was long gone after that wonderful display of, "I can do whatever I want," because I was never whipped once in my life. But unfortunately, I looked back to see the grill of an F-150 headed straight towards me. As it goes off the road towards me, I try to jump out of the way, but it was too late, and my arm takes most of the impact, which sends me flying into the ground. Entitled Dad then storms over to me as I'm laying on the ground trying to process what just happened, and proceeds to scream about how it's impolite to refuse hospitality to guests and that I should be willing to allow visitors to park anywhere to accommodate them. Now, I'm pretty sure the impact and me falling on the ground didn't last for more than a few moments, so Entitled Dad either had to plan this stupid confrontation where I got knocked down, or he underestimated his stopping distance but didn't care what happened afterwards. I want to say I came up with something witty, but while he's screaming and gathering his stuff to leave, I'm just too focused on trying to get up. Thinking back on it, it was a weird feeling that I never felt again. I could hear Entitled Dad and watch his family get out, but I couldn't speak, and the only thing I could do was slowly get up and ended up walking backwards into the road without realizing. Luckily, there was no traffic because a Subaru was just sitting there blocking the road, probably because the driver was completely stunned at the whole ordeal. Entitled Dad and his family were gone with the truck parked horribly on my property. The street was pretty chaotic as the Subaru was still sitting there while several cars down the road had their hazards on as countless people were surrounding the old man trying to help him out. Ambulances and police arrive a few minutes later to sort this whole mess out, but thankfully no one was seriously injured and the old man seemed like he was going to make it. A police car remained within sight of Entitled Dad's pickup for a few hours, but I never saw Entitled Dad again. The patrol car left and the pickup was still there the next day, then disappeared while I was at work. Eventually, I moved after a landlord purchased the property to build apartments, and I never wanted anything to do with football again. Next, we've got Operation Karen. My first job after university was as a software consultant under a company that handled large, bespoke software solutions for big finance companies, banks, and our government. After about a year with a number of projects under my belt, I was sent on my way to a new client, an offshore admin department of a major UK bank, to work on some bespoke projects for the banking system. This was approaching 10 years ago. This might be a gray area for the sub, but think of my role like the IT equivalent of asking a plumber to fix your toilet. The building had maybe 30 to 40 employees and rows of desks down a long room with multiple little offices/meeting rooms adjacent. I turn up all suited and smart, meeting the manager and discussing the project. To everyone there, I was just some early 20s youngster being escorted to an interview or something. I turn up the next day looking all greenhorn and being introduced to the IT department. The first days were pretty normal. People helping me with logins, desks, the basics of a new office job to any onlooker. I'd keep speaking to the same few IT department guys and joining them on their smoke breaks. That's when a mild case of the Karen started to seep in. I was introduced to her at some point, but I had no idea who she was or what she did, and I think that irked her. Rather than ask her colleagues and find out what I was doing, she assumed I'm just the new kid and I wasn't towing company line. This started with a joking,
I think the new guy should do the tea runs.
British office after all. I obliged. I would offer tea at least once a day to her row of desks as well. The petty power play kept increasing with things like the Friday bacon run and,
Oh, if you are going to the printer, can you scan this for me?
She was trying to show herself as a senior and that she was my superior. I think the best one was her inviting me to a company meeting she led on current business issues. I had been invited into many meetings before because part of my job is understanding the client's business. Then she started noticing things. I'd stroll in at 10:30 a.m. I'd leave at 4 p.m. I might have 2-hour lunch breaks. I was too casual with my sharp jeans and untucked black shirt, even though the IT department guys wore tatty jeans, trainers, and t-shirts. I'd also walk outside to take personal phone calls frequently. I was a consultant who attended our own company meetings and supporting all my other projects for other clients. I'm not on their payroll. I charged them for my time. You see, Karen was a senior in the operations room, the group who is in charge of making sure all the menial business tasks are managed and clicking buttons on bespoke software that my colleagues made to basically keep this show afloat. Some of the guys in the team actually do keep the place together, but I don't think she did. And that's when I got accosted in kitchen.
I don't think you are taking this job very seriously. I've been keeping track of your tardiness, and I'm sure others have noticed too. I've just submitted a full briefing to your manager to let him know.
In this case, the IT department actually spend 50% of their time away from their desks, so she thinks I'm playing them when they aren't around. In reality, I'm there when they are there. I'm not an employee, Karen. I work for company. Amusingly, she never once engaged as a human being beforehand. This shocked her. In a huff, she walks out. I think she's upset that she's in the dark, and I'm sure she's just sent a serious case of the Karen mail. Problem is, I'm under NDA because I'm working on a system that has rather large access to the information of all the banking hardware and software, and our policy is not to talk about it with anyone not directly involved. One of her team was my go-to guy for access and details. To her, my account was a basic, no-access account. I'd log in, then remote onto a virtualized workstation that was out of her jurisdiction, managed by the IT guys. Here's the kicker. I think there was office politics about the email she sent out, but I didn't have a company email address to join in the fun. My IT colleagues had actually noted down all the times she approached me to do menial tasks and new boy errands, to which I charged £250 per hour under admin or contingency budgets. She racked up enough costs to easily cover hiring a junior employee. The reason why she wasn't informed, as I found out later that year for a new project, was that I was building a centralized intranet service that managed all the banking server information, hardware details, licenses, permission systems, and so forth, and a way to hand control back to the qualified IT guys and severely lighten up the redundant parts of the operations team who are frankly unqualified to manage banking infrastructure. She was in her early 50s, pushing close to a six-figure salary to run through a daily checklist she wrote in Excel of jobs to delegate out to others. Essentially, got paid to do a lot of forget all for years on end. Being a consultant is a funny job, a tough one at times. Some people treat you like their knight in shining armor as you fix all their crap or improve their daily lives. Others see you as scammers, and others see you as the horseman of their incompetency. Karen, however, couldn't see 2 feet in front of her superiority complex until a naive 23-year-old automated her job. She wasn't there a few months later when I came back to build upon the previous work. Next we've got teacher embarrasses student with issues at home and gets offended when everyone gets upset with her. This was in my freshman year of high school when I took a health class. I had the worst teacher in existence. I have plenty of more stories about her. I have plans of posting another about how she insults a boy who wants to go into the military, but that's for another day. So there's this one kid who we will refer to as Troubled Kid. He was starting to miss class a bit, and then it turned into a lot. Almost all of those were excused absences or tardies, and I guess one day my heartless teacher just had enough. Student walks into class with an excused tardy note. Not only is he late, but he hasn't been to class in a week. Teacher:
Oh, so the delinquent finally decides to show up.
Student ignores the insult. Sorry for being late. I've missed quite a few days of class. What do I need to catch up on?
Why the heck have you been gone for a whole dang week? That's unacceptable. If you cared about this class, you would be here every day and on time. Obviously, you don't care. So I don't care. You're on your own.
Now it was nearing the end of the semester, and everyone is required to take and pass gym and health. If he failed, he would be forced to take it again, because otherwise he won't graduate. Student: I care. I've just had more pressing matters.
Nothing is more important than your education.
I've got some problems at home right now, and I haven't been able to come to school. Everything's hectic. Please, I need your help.
That's not my problem. You should have come to class. I give my all to teaching my students, and you aren't giving your all to learn.
At this point, one of student's friends started attempting to defend him to no avail. Friend: You're not being fair, teacher. I know what's going on, and it's actually pretty strong of him to even be in school right now. Random student: Not to mention, as a teacher, it is still your job to make sure students know what they need to know for the test. At this point, a lot of people in the class began yelling at her, defending the student. Teacher:
You all need to shut up. I'm the teacher, so I ultimately decide what's right. He didn't prioritize school, so I'm not going to prioritize him. Besides, all the assignments are up on my webpage.
Student: So I can at least make up my missing assignments? What about the partner projects? I don't have a partner.
Then you can take the 0 for that.
Now the whole class definitely went off on her for that. After that, she yelled at the class and threatened to call the administrator and give the student detention for disrupting the class. We all went back to doing our work, and student went to his desk practically in tears. He ended up calling his sister to check him out of school before the class even ended. The next day, when he didn't come to school, everyone practically gave her the cold shoulder, even her favorite students. She complained about us being childish and how you shouldn't disrespect teachers or your elders, but no one gave a darn. Entitled parents insult volunteers at the Salvation Army for giving them bags full of toys for their kids for Christmas. This isn't about any specific interaction with an entitled parent, but about a general experience with many. My dad had me and my 2 younger brothers volunteer at the Salvation Army for Christmas when I was in 6th grade. It was one of the biggest and most crime-filled, poorest cities in my state. He got us there because he was friends with the person running it. I thought it was extremely fun and exciting. My dad's friend, the woman who ran it, let's say Mrs. C, had a giant, like 5-inch binder. Each page had the profile of a kid and gave their age and interests. She would turn a page, me and my brothers would see the profile, then we would all go into one of the rooms filled wall to wall with thousands of toys, then fill up a large brown bag with them. I'm not sure what kids ask for nowadays, but this was in like 2007, and a lot of kids genuinely wanted specific board games and dolls and baby things, like the dolls that are like newborn babies you have to take care of, cute girly things, and boys always wanted action figures and just games or toys with specific themes. So we generally got to give kids pretty much exactly what they wanted. There was a secret closet there that had a couple bikes and some iPods, and iTunes gift cards, Nintendo DS related things, etc. The bikes were meant for specific kids that had prior agreements with Mrs. C, and the technology things were for older kids. Mrs. C, who had run the business for many years, said she only gave those things to children who she was very familiar with and who had been coming here for years. She told me, "When I first started here, I gave an iPod to a mother for her daughter. After I gave it to her, I watched her walk across the street and sell it to someone random for cash. I never made that mistake again." Then came the day that all the parents would arrive and pick up their bags. My dad let us all skip school so we could be there helping. The parents all lined up at the entrance in front of Mrs. C and my dad. They gave their name. Mrs. C flipped to their page in the binder, yelled out a number, and me and my brothers ran and got the bag with the corresponding number on it. Kids who were receiving bikes and iPods/DS had to go through a side entrance so that no other parents would see that they are getting these things. In previous years, parents would get into actual physical fights with other parents when they believed that they were getting better items than their kid. Immediately, my crazed excitement/joy over the situation was gone. Parents wordlessly snatched their kids' bags out of my hands, never thanked me. I was a cute girl saying Merry Christmas to everyone I handed a bag to, and only a few out of over 100 parents said anything back. People came in trying to get toys for their kids, even though they had never signed up. There is an October deadline to sign up for this program, and the application process is serious and multi-tiered, and I'm pretty sure it involved background checks.
There shouldn't be deadlines. My kids deserve a Christmas. How can you be so selfish? Just pull one toy out of that bag over there. It looks really full.
Parents tried to intimidate me into pulling toys from the other bags, basically with,
"I'm an adult and you're a kid, so do as I say."
and said things like,
"Do you think that person deserves a better Christmas than my daughter? Just because they signed up?"
I heard one mom on her phone speaking in Spanish after she received a bag. I knew basic Spanish, and when I overheard her calling my dad and Mrs. C selfish and greedy, I felt sick to my stomach and like I wanted to cry. A lot of parents opened their bags in front of everyone right as they received them, holding up the line, almost like people in a fast food drive-thru who open their bag while still at the window and open their sandwiches to make sure they're okay. These parents tried to argue about what they received.
"My kid doesn't want this doll. They want a video game. They don't want X, they want Y."
When I knew that just about every kid received either exactly what they asked for or something in the realm of what they asked for. I remember keeping a happy expression on the entire time and then crying as soon as we left. My Christmas spirit was destroyed that year. Next we've got Entitled Parent Doesn't Know What a Service Dog Is. Our cast. We've got me, a friendly potato. We've got Friend. We've got Service Doggo that my friend has. We've got Karen, and we've got Good Kid. Backstory. Me and Friend were working an open house at our college. We were advertising a club we participate in. Friend has a service dog that is still in training for her severe anxiety. She is normally very friendly when people come over and ask to pet the dog, but eventually it gets annoying after a while. It's important to note, in case you don't know, you should never pet, call out to, or get a service dog's attention because it can distract them from doing their job. Therefore, they cannot alert their trainer if the trainer is in distress. Distracting a service dog is like pulling out someone's wheelchair from underneath them. Story. Me, Friend, and Dog were at the open house trying to get incoming students' attention and possibly recruit new members for their club. Dog was laying down under their table, keeping a close watch on Friend. Many people came up to the table asking to pet the dog. Friend says it's okay at first, but starts to get fed up as many people just came for the dog and weren't interested in the club. Eventually, Friend puts a sign up telling people to leave the dog alone and ignore her. It's also important to note that due to her anxiety, Friend has a hard time standing up for herself. Everything was going okay until entitled mom and good kid came. Good kid, about 3 or 4, yelled, "Puppy!" and ran towards dog. Friend froze in place while I stood in front of the dog, somewhat blocking her. I then knelt down and told good kid that dog was a service dog and that while it would be hard, he needed to ignore her because she was working right now. Good kid somewhat understood. He wasn't a bad kid. He was young and probably hadn't seen or didn't know how to act around a service dog. Then came entitled mom in tow. Surprisingly, she didn't have the typical Karen attributes. She started asking me what I was doing.
"What are you saying to my son?"
She asked me. "Miss, I was just explaining to your son that the dog here is a service dog and why he can't pet her," I said happily.
"Well, why can't he pet her?"
she said, raising her voice. I then repeated my whole lecture about how to act around a service dog. Also to note, this was an open house for college students. I never saw the entitled mom's older kid. After I'm done explaining, entitled mom starts back up again.
"Well, that's a dog, and dogs are meant to be pet,"
she said in that classic Karen tone. "Miss, if you distract the service dog, that's the same thing as asking someone to get out of their wheelchair."
"But your friend can walk."
"That's not the point," I said, starting to get annoyed.
"It's just a dog. It's not like petting it will hurt anyone. Go on, good kid. You can pet the dog."
To my surprise, good kid looked up at his mother and just stared at her. I guess my lecture got to him better than Karen. Entitled mom started pushing good kid towards the dog, to which he just ran away into the crowd of people in the gym. I assumed to find his older sibling or maybe another family member. Entitled mom then gave me a death glare, saying something along the lines of,
"Now look, you ruined this fair for good kid. I hope you're happy, you lowlife. I bet you just love to ruin kids' fun, don't you?"
At this point, I'm fed up and done being nice out of respect. I'm usually very sassy, so I respond to her. "Well, at least it's not my job to suck the life out of everyone. You must be really good at that." I don't know why I said this, but it's what came out of my mouth. Entitled mom then got very red-faced and stomped away. Friend thanked me for sticking up for her, and we had a good laugh. The fair ended with us only recruiting a few members, and dog got lots of treats and hugs when she was off duty. I later found out that I was reported for inappropriate behavior to the student government, who are in charge of all clubs on campus. But because it's college, there isn't anything they can do, so we all just kinda laughed and moved on with life. I'm not sure why entitled mom thought this was a fair. Sure, it was an open house, but there was nothing too exciting going on. At least I have a funny story now. Thanks for reading. Next we've got A Little Karen Revenge. Background. I used to be an hourly manager for Walmart, worked nights, and had all the typical Walmart people incidents. The company underwent a lot of changes and promotion was looking grim, so I left on good terms with the store manager. I still live close to my old store and needed to grab a few things before taking my family to dinner. It was Father's Day, so I had khakis and a blue button-up on. I happened to bump into my former store manager and we caught up for a bit. We had been talking close to the registers, and as we parted, Karen came screaming at me. I looked at my former boss and grinned and nodded. We would call him SM. Me. Karen, and SC for security. Karen.
"Your cashier has verbally assaulted me and has humiliated me in front of all those customers."
Points at a cashier. Side note, I know this cashier. I hired and trained her. She had also babysat for me on several occasions. I'm good friends with her family. Me. Slow down. Please start from the beginning.
"That little jerk told me my money is no good here. She wouldn't run my card and called me names."
Me. Saying this is a scam for free stuff. Well, please come with me and security can take a statement. I am sure they can pull footage from the register while you fill it out. I begin heading towards the security office and she begins to follow. But at the mention of register footage, she stops cold and begins getting louder and irate.
"I want my items. I want them now."
While she is screaming, I recognize the head of security walking our way. Me. I understand, ma'am. Please come with me and this will go quicker. Security stops to talk to store manager and I gesture for Karen to follow. We make our way to the security office, store manager and security in tow. Security opens the door and lets Karen in. Inside, the footage is already on the screen and store manager moves past me into the room. Store manager: "Ma'am, we are going to have to detain you until the police arrive."
I will not wait. I want my things now. Who are you?
"I am the store manager, and apart from you yelling at this customer," gestures to me, I grin at her, "you have a stolen credit card on you and will wait for the police." Store manager shuts the door and turns to me. "So, when are you coming back?" I laugh and tell him, as much fun as that was, I'm not. I've had my fill of retail. My little revenge on Karen's. I never told her I worked there. I acted as a concerned customer. Turns out the card was stolen and flagged. She got upset over her stolen card getting declined. Next we've got work faster or I'll fire you. This happened to me about 4 years ago in summer in Turkey when my uncle was having his wedding. I was almost 16 and it was my first time that I'd wear a suit to a wedding. Since it was my first time, I wanted to make sure I looked great in it. So that day I took off my jacket because it was really hot outside and I didn't want to have sweat marks all over my nice and new white shirt. So there I was standing outside this wedding venue, greeting other guests and welcoming other relatives. Now is when things get interesting. So there was this catering service who was simultaneously preparing the food for the wedding. They were all dressed the same: white shirt, black pants, and nice black shoes and a normal belt. Problem was, I looked the same, and I didn't have anything on me which could possibly tell that I'm different than them, and since I took off my jacket, they couldn't tell either. Standing at the entry welcoming guests, an employee, he was around 35, so there was a huge age difference, and he looked way bigger than me, approached me and asked me what the heck I was doing. "Nothing. Do I know you?"
Don't just stand there. Start moving fast and do something. Guests will be very angry if the food is not ready in time.
I thought he was kind of joking about all the stuff since we're looking exactly the same and I was young too, but apparently catering services hired anyone who had 2 arms and legs. And because I knew the sense of humor Turkish people have, I thought he was just trying to be funny. But then he approached me again and asked me if I wanted to be fired and that he'd do anything to make sure I wouldn't get any money for what I did until then too. It was that moment I realized he wasn't trying to be funny anymore, but dead serious about it. I was angry for being so disrespected as a guest, and so I responded in a very angry way, telling him to buzz off and leave me alone. I could have told him I wasn't working for the catering service, but I didn't know if he would get it. He then grabbed me on my arm and threatened if I continued disrespecting him, knowing I'm apparently holding them up to get the food ready in time. Of course, everyone started running towards me. Can't even count all the people who tried to get him off me. Just when he finished his sentence, my grandfather grabbed the employee and did the same on him and told him that I wasn't working for him and that now he wouldn't work for my grandfather anymore too. The employee's supervisor was really ashamed of his employee's behavior and tried to do me a favor by letting me fire him for him. I did fire him by telling him, "Seems like it's you who won't earn much money today." Next we've got, hit my car and try to get away? I'll track you down and make you pay. Double. So my fiance at the time, now wife, were driving around looking for dresses for her bridesmaids to wear for the wedding. We had been going from place to place looking for something she liked, but no luck. We had just finished leaving David's bridal and were leaving the plaza. It had been raining a lot, so the roads were slick. As I reached the intersection of where the plaza met the road to turn out, another car came turning in. Unfortunately, he didn't brake soon enough and skidded into the front end of the driver's side. Thankfully, everyone was okay. We got out of our cars and looked at the damage. His car, of course, was completely unharmed, and mine had a minor dent. He looked about 45-ish and had his son in the car with him. We exchanged names and phone numbers. He let me know he was on the way to work, and I told him we were just wedding shopping. I was 22 at the time and very naive as to what to do in case of an accident. He told me that we both seemed pretty busy and that we should just handle it ourselves since we were both busy. We didn't call the police, my mistake, and he told me to get the damage looked at to see what it would cost. I took the car in 2 days later, and they quoted me $1,100 for the bumper to be replaced. I texted him, and he told me he will be getting scholarships in 2 months when he goes back to school, and he would be able to pay me in cash then. I, again naively, told him that would be fine. A week later, I followed up with him about another estimate I got, which was lower than the original, $900, but I got no response. I texted him again and again for the next few days, and nothing. At this point, I realized he had bailed. I came up with a plan to find him. All I had was his name, a now useless phone number, and a general area of where he worked. I searched for him on Facebook and was pretty sure I found him. I searched under his family members and saw what looked to be like his son. His soon-to-be sister-in-law was 16 and looked about the same age as his son. I decided to go full-on undercover. I used her Facebook and changed her last name to match theirs. I then messaged the son and told him that I thought we might be cousins. I asked him some questions about his dad, like name and job, and told him that my mom said I have an uncle down there by that name and worked at this guitar shop. He answered yes, that was his dad's name, and told me the name of the place where his dad worked. I was so relieved I was making progress. The next day, I drove back up near the accident and found where the man worked. I found his car and took pictures of his license plate. I then took all the info I had and went to the courthouse. I filled out paperwork and handed it to the clerk. The clerk told me they could either mail the form to his work address, or if I paid $25, I can have an officer hand deliver it. Of course, I paid the $25 just to embarrass him at his place of work. A few weeks later, we were summoned to the court to see if we could work things out before going to an actual hearing. He showed up, and we sat down with a mediator. She explained everything to all of us. I told him I didn't want to do this, but he stopped responding. He replied that his phone was stolen, so he had to get a new one. In my mind, a phone being stolen doesn't equal changing your phone number. I knew he was lying. The moderator asked him to step outside. She talked to us and told us not to trust him because his story didn't make sense. The mediator invited him back inside, and we read over the terms I listed in the courthouse documents. He was to pay $2,400. I charged him the original replacement cost, gas from driving back and forth, my time for doing all this work, and extra just for being a jerk. He said he would pay, but didn't like that I went to his job and took pictures of his car. I replied I didn't like that he hit my car. A few months later, he paid the full amount in cash and had to pay for our court costs as well. I sold the damaged car and took the cash he gave me to buy another car fully in cash. All in all, I benefited from it, but next time I'll just call the cops and save myself the headache.
So, Karen, what did you think of today's stories?
They were horrible.
Horrible? How dare you? These were some of the best we've ever read.
Oh, shut up, Mr. Reddit. It's ridiculous what people like myself have to go through. Dealing with stupid people like yourself and your subscribers.
Look, Karen, you can say whatever you want about me, but don't you talk about my re-army.
Re-army. Most of your viewers aren't even subscribed to your channel. 70% if I'm correct.
Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. Most of my viewers don't actually subscribe for some reason.
It's because you're stupid, Mr. Reddit.
No, I'm not. All right, guys, let's prove Karen wrong by making sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications.
They're not going to listen to you.
And if you'd like me, or Karen,
what?
To record a special message for you, come visit me on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.
Never.
And join as a channel member today, and Karen will give you a special shout out in the next video.
Like heck I will.